Part 34. Fringe Artists in the Entertainment Industry. Author, Chizu de Xiaomao. Chapter 343. Chapter 332-331. Deliver it to your door yourself. Lian, the box office on the first day was 1.03 million. Huo Jiankai was a little excited. The box office on the first day was more than 1 million, which means that the movie will probably not lose money, but it will not make money either. Oh, I got it, Chen Lian hummed without any reaction, as if Huo Jiankai meant not 1 million but 100 yuan. Huo Jiankai was stunned for a moment, and then asked on the phone, "Aren't you happy?" 1 million. I'm so happy. Congratulations, Lao Huo, Chen Lian said again. His tone was neither calm nor bland, and there was no hint of happiness at all. Huo Jiankai, you can't be careless. You scumbag. Lao Huo, if there's nothing else, I'll hang up first. I'm busy here. Chen Lian had a headache looking at the numbers on the report in front of him. Huo Jiankai asked quickly, "No, what are you busy with? Is it about the exhibition tour?" Chen Lian said weakly, "Yes, the cost of more than $500,000, the ministry can only support 200,000, which is still RMB, and I have to pay for it myself, more than 4 million, Lao Huo, why don't you support me a little bit?" Huo Jiankai, what? My wife asked me to collect the clothes, so hang up. He slipped away and couldn't afford to offend her. After hanging up the phone from Huo Jiankai, Chen Lian curled his lips. More than 4 million is enough to frighten you. Isn't that just the box office for 4 days? The more than 4 million yuan for the touring exhibition was not paid for by Chen Lian alone, but by Jifa and the others. After all, this was within the art space plan. Chen Lian didn't care about the cost of more than 4 million. Although the ministry could only support 200,000, it did not give much support in other aspects. With so many craft masters coming together to help Chen Lian, it couldn't be done with 200,000 yuan. Chen Lian looked at these reports in his study. After checking them carefully, he was going to notify Lu Tao to pay some of the money to the masters first. "Lian. I'm back," Qiao Linmu's voice suddenly came from the living room. Chen Lian responded and put down the phone in his hand temporarily, walked out, and asked, "You came back so early and didn't stay there to eat?" "No, I also made an appointment with some dealer representatives to have dinner together in the afternoon," Qiao Linmu explained and looked at Chen Lian and said, "Niunio is growing up really fast now. You can take a look this afternoon. Don't neglect the child if the adults are having trouble." Chen Lian raised his eyebrows, guessing that Gong Li and Qiao Linmu had complained about his condition, and said speechlessly, "It's like I don't usually go there. I go to see her 3 days a week, okay." Qiao Linmu looked at Chen Lian and hesitated to speak. Finally, he just sighed and said, "I think it's better for you to settle down. It won't work if you keep being so out of tune." Then who do you think I should choose better?" Chen Lian asked with a smile. Qiao Linmu was speechless for a moment. In his opinion, Gong Li and Chen Miran were both pretty good, but if he really had to choose, who should he choose? "Second uncle, don't worry about it. I know my own business." After Chen Lian said this, he turned around and went back to the study. "What a sin, let's see what you will do when the child grows up," Qiao Linmu snorted, went back to the room, changed his clothes, tucked his handbag and went out. Leixin will continue to bid for the CCTV bid this year, and it cannot do without the support of dealers. This is a win-win situation. If it really wins the bid, it will have to discuss next year's sales plan with the dealers. Qiao Linmu left. After Chen Lian finished arranging work for Lu Tao in the study, he looked at his phone and wondered whether he should call Gong Li and say that he would go there for dinner in the evening. Jingle bell bell. While Chen Lian was still thinking, the doorbell outside suddenly rang. Gao Yuan, who was dressed up outside the door, rang the doorbell a few more times, feeling uneasy and nervous. Chen Lian ignored her for several days. Seeing that she was already 18 years old, Chen Lian showed no sign at all. Gao Yuanyuan even wondered if she had been forgotten by Chen Lian. Chen Lian walked to the door and opened it. He was a little surprised when he saw Gao Yuanyuan standing outside, so he asked directly, "What are you doing here?" Gao Yuanyuan, who was originally worried, suddenly felt aggrieved when she saw Chen Lian's slightly cold expression. She used to say that she would surprise herself when she turned 18, but now her attitude is so cold. Gao Yuanyuan looked at Chen Lian aggrievedly, with a layer of moisture in her big eyes, biting her lips and said tactfully, "Don't you want to see me? Are you still angry with me?" "What do you think?" Chen Lian leaned on the cabinet in the entrance hall, looked at Gao Yuanyuan outside the door and said, "Forget it, come in first, others will think I'm bullying you." Gao Yuanyuan felt better when she heard Chen Lian let her in. She walked in and stood in front of Chen Lian, looking up at him. Just as she was about to reach out to hug him, Chen Lian nodded her head and pushed her back. Chen Lian turned around and walked towards the living room, and his cold voice reached Gao Yuanyuan's ears. "Be careful and tell me if you have anything to do. I'm busy." Gao Yuanyuan looked at Chen Lian's back angrily, kicked off her shoes and ran inside. She hugged Chen Lian from behind and said, "Why are you doing this to me? You promised to do this on my 18th birthday. It's been a long time since I was surprised. I'm sorry. I find it troublesome. I don't like people who are clever and sow discord," Chen Lian said coldly. Chen Lian still remembered that in the company, Gao Yuanyuan was trying to provoke him and Chen Myron out of clever tricks. That was it before anything happened. Who knows what would happen if things continued? That is to say, Gao Yuanyuan was young and Chen Lian never cared about it, but that didn't mean that he had forgotten about it. He had to let her remember it for a long time. When Gao Yuanyuan heard Chen Lian's words, she hugged him tightly and said with sobs, "I knew you were angry. I won't dare to do it again after I was wrong." Gao Yuanyuan also regretted it. She was young and playful, and she thought she was smart at the time. In fact, none of those people were human beings. Her cleverness was just a joke. Chen Lian was about to say something when the phone in the study suddenly rang, so he frowned and said, "Let go first, it's your work phone." Gao Yuanyuan didn't want to let go, but hearing Chen Lian's serious tone, she subconsciously let go. Chen Lian didn't even look at her and went directly to the study to answer the phone. It was Lu Tao who called. She had already transferred all the funds to the craft masters. After listening to Lu Tao reporting his work, Chen Lian hung up the phone and looked up when he saw a ruler appearing in front of him. Like a student who made a mistake, Gao Yuanyuan held the ruler in front of Chen Lian and said with a blushing face, "Teacher Chen, I was wrong, please punish me." Chen Lian looked at the clothes scattered on the ground behind Gao Yuanyuan, and then at Gao Yuanyuan's current appearance. He couldn't help but squeeze the hand holding the phone tightly. This was the first time he saw Gao Yuanyuan who was completely honest, and he felt both sexy and absurd for a moment. Chen Lian did not pick up the ruler, but stood up, picked up Gao Yuanyuan's clothes, handed them to her and said, "You don't have to do this to yourself, I forgive you, put it on." Hearing Chen Lian's words, Gao Yuanyuan was delighted at first and then suddenly asked nervously, "You're not lying to me, are you? I'm like this, and you still let me wear it? Do you want to drive me away?" Chen Lian, even gentlemen wouldn't do it, right? Is it that hard to be a good person? What kind of world is this? It forces people to be bad people. "Teacher Chen, do you really not want to punish me?" Gao Yuanyuan handed the ruler in front of Chen Lian, and her two white and tender feet couldn't help but curl up together. Alas, Chen Lian sighed, pulled Gao Yuanyuan up, gently wiped the tears on her face and said, "It's cold here, don't catch a cold, just take a bath. Together. Well, I'll teach you the most important lesson in life." After a long time, Gao Yuan's shouting came from the bedroom. Is this how this works? It's so tight, I can't move. This gesture seems like a confession. Do you want me to confess to you and admit my mistakes? I'm ready. In the evening, Chen Lian looked at Gao Yuan, who had just recovered, and took her out. Although he missed his 18th birthday, he could make up for it. Anyway, the gifts were already prepared. When Xiao Linmu returned home from socializing that night, he was not surprised when he didn't see Chen Lian at home. He thought he went to Gong Li's place, took a shower and went to bed. He would go to CCTV to participate in the auction the next day. Early the next morning, Gao Yuan was excitedly jumping around the house. One moment she ran to the balcony to look at the scenery outside, and the other moment she ran around in various rooms. Chen Lian, who had been reading the newspaper, couldn't stand Gao Yuan's fuss, so he pinned her down on the sofa and asked her to be quiet for a while. Gao Yuan smiled like a little fool, looked at the bright roses on the coffee table, and asked in Chen Lian's arms, "Were you always ready, just waiting for me to go to you to admit your mistake?" "No," Chen Lian said in denial. Gao Yuan snorted, bit Chen Lian and said, "I'm lying, these roses are fresh, which means someone comes to change them every day. This house is also cleaned every day." "I know you still ask," Chen Lian replied angrily. "I want to hear what you have to say," Gao Yuan said coquettishly, "this will make me feel that you value me." Chen Lian looked at Gao Yuan's eyes full of expectation and hummed, then rubbed her head and said, "You can contact Lu Tao later. There are other things to do later, and she will help you arrange them." "You're so kind to me." Gao Yuan happily rubbed herself in Chen Lian's arms. Chen Lian shrugged his shoulders. He didn't think he was that good. Who is a good person who buys so many houses and is ready to give them away at any time? It's just a scumbag's routine. After Chen Lian stayed with Gao Yuan for a while, he let her have fun alone in the first house of his life. He had other things to do, so how could he stay immersed in the gentle land? Chen Lian has not been to the company for several days. He came here today just to see the progress of the company's various projects. The most important thing was to see Myron Chen. Huanzu is currently in post-production, and Kangzi Private Interview 2 is also in post-production. The company has only produced 2 dramas this year, and the others are participating in investments. There are varying amounts of investment, and most of them only participate in investment and not in production. The company's current scale is not big enough, and the team is not strong enough. It is already the limit to produce 2 dramas, but it can speed up next year. And next year we will start to try to get involved in film production. How can a mature film and television company only produce TV series? Chen Lian was a little surprised when he saw Myron Chen. Myron, who used to be beautiful in the past, turned out to be a little haggard now. There were piles of documents on the table. Chen Lian originally wanted to say a few words to her, but now he felt a little softer. He sat in front of her and asked, "Why are you so busy suddenly? Pay more attention to rest." Chen Myron raised her head and glanced at Chen Lian, then hummed through her nose, sounding like she had a cold. "There have been a lot of cooperations recently, and many contracts have to be passed." Chen Myron's voice was very nasal, and she was not in good spirits, but she still managed to say, "In the past 2 days, many media have come to contact us for advertising resources. Maybe Director Lin is here to take care of you." Not to mention this, Chen Lian had forgotten about it. Lin Fangmu did mention it to him, saying that the country would not take advantage of him. Although the ministry only gave him 200,000 yuan, he would make up for it elsewhere. Chen Lian thought he was talking about those craft masters at first, but after working on it for a long time, he was talking about these advertising resources. These resources are money, and advertising space resources are limited. With these delivery channels and resources, more people will choose to cooperate with the company in the future. Being able to create ads is not a big deal, having delivery channels to maximize the delivery of ads is the most important thing. Looking at Beauty Chen's haggard appearance, Chen Lian reached out and touched her forehead. She was lucky not to have a fever. Don't be busy, don't worry, it'll be over soon. Chen Lian poured a glass of water for Beauty Chen and said, is there any medicine? Chen Myron snorted and said, yes, I just ate it. Go home and rest. I'll help you with these things. Chen Lian felt a little sorry for Chen Myron. Chen Myron shook her head and looked at Chen Lian and asked softly, aren't you angry that I brought someone to the premiere that day? I was very angry at first. It's not that I won't let you go, but that you should tell me in advance. If I hadn't called the leader later, I don't know how this matter would have turned out. Chen Lian looked at Chen Myron and said, you also know that many people are staring at me now. If public opinion expands in the country, I won't be able to stay any longer. Chen Myron hummed twice to show that she knew, walked to Chen Lian, sat on his lap and hugged him, saying, I was negligent, I gave you a surprise first, but I didn't expect that Gong Li and Ning Jing would also go. They are just like you, they just happen to be together. Chen Lian patted Mei Chen and said, okay, go home and rest. I'll keep an eye on the company these 2 days. Chen Myron did feel dizzy, so she agreed, put on a mask and took the car back. Chen Lian sat at Chen Myron's desk. After looking at the documents and sorting out all the advertising resources that needed to be linked to the contract, he felt a little grateful to Lin Fang Muo. Domestic mainstream magazines and newspapers have resources. Although they are not fixed outdoor advertising resources, with so many cooperative relationships with paper media, it will be much easier to place advertisements in the future. Speaking of outdoor advertising space resources, it is actually important, but it is owned by the industrial and commercial director and has nothing to do with the publicity department, while TV advertising is managed by each TV station. Lin Fangmu's only advertising resources to supplement Chen Lian's advertising resources were these newspapers and magazines. Chen Lian finished sorting it out one by one, confirmed the contents of the cooperation one by one, and sat there busy all day. It was only when he finally got off work that Chen Lian remembered that he was going to the ministry today, but now he completely forgot about it. I wonder if Lin Fangmu would take all these resources away in anger. How about taking this old man to spend some time in heaven and earth? Fringe artists in the entertainment industry. Author, Chizu de Xiaomao. Chapter 344. Chapter 333-332. Tell the truth. Working alone can sometimes be quite helpless. There are too few talents in the company, otherwise I wouldn't be working overtime until now. I'm so busy that I even forget to go to the department for meetings. Chen Lian stretched and walked out of the office. There were not many people in the office at this time. Overtime work has not become a trend these days. Chen Lian is not the kind of capitalist who likes to squeeze his employees. He should get off work at the right time. He goes to work for a better life, not for a better overtime. Lu Tao, who had been waiting outside the office, fell asleep on the table. Chen Lian walked over and took a look, and knocked on her table helplessly. Huh? What's wrong? Lu Tao woke up immediately. Seeing Chen Lian standing in front of him, he immediately stood up and said, Teacher Chen. Chen Lian looked at her face that was red from sleeping, frowned and said, why didn't you remind me to go to the ministry meeting? Lu Tao was startled when he heard Chen Lian's question. He looked at the time and found that it was already 7 o'clock. He immediately panicked and looked at Chen Lian wanting to explain. However, Chen Lian didn't give her a chance and just said seriously, next time something like this happens, 1 month's salary will be deducted. Hearing Chen Lian's words, Lu Tao breathed a sigh of relief. Fortunately, he was not fired, but his monthly salary was still a few thousand yuan. Chen Lian looked at Lu Tao's tired look, frowned and said, go back and rest. Remember, This won't happen again. Thank you, Teacher Chen. Lu Tao looked at Chen Lian gratefully, but he was not ready to get off work now. His boss was still in the company, so how could he leave as an assistant? Chen Lian walked a few steps outside and looked at Lu Tao, who was still following him. He looked back at her and said, "There's no need to follow me. Go back and rest." After hearing Chen Lian say it again, Lu Tao was sure that Chen Lian really didn't need to follow him. Looking at Chen Lian's leaving figure, Lu Tao showed a relaxed expression, and went back to pack his things with some excitement to go back to the dormitory to rest. "Teacher Chen. You got off work so late." Li Bingbing bumped into Chen Lian at the door of the company and immediately stopped to say hello. Chen Lian looked at Li Bingbing, who was still running to the company so late, and asked curiously, "Well, I just finished my work, why are you still running to the company so late?" "I forgot to pick up something. I have to take leave for the next few days, so I came over to pick it up temporarily," Li Bingbing explained immediately. Chen Lian nodded and said, "Okay, then you can get busy." "Okay, goodbye, Teacher Chen." Chen Lian took a few steps forward and suddenly remembered that Li Bingbing's sister later became a gold medal agent. She was a very potential talent. He had too many things to do now, and Lu Tao's assistant could not handle it at all. Chen Lian thought for a moment and then turned around and called Li Bingbing to inquire. Li Bingbing was surprised. He didn't expect Chen Lian to know that he had a sister. "Teacher Chen, I do have a younger sister." "How did you know that she studied journalism?" Chen Lian explained casually, "I can't remember who I heard said that if your sister has graduated, she can come to the company if she can't find a suitable job. She has graduated and is now working as a reporter in Hangzhou. As for coming to the company, it depends on her thoughts." Li Bingbing was a little hesitant, thinking that it would be a good choice for his sister to come to the company, so that the two sisters could work together. "It's just that you still have to ask your sister about this kind of thing, you can't make the decision for her yourself." Chen Lian nodded and said, "Okay, if you need help, just say it. The company is short of talents recently." After saying that, Chen Lian left. He also wanted to treat Lin Fangmu to dinner. He couldn't let the leader wait for him any longer this time. It was not good to always ask the leader to work overtime. Looking at Chen Lian's leaving figure, Li Bingbing felt a little moved in his heart. The company's remuneration was good, and the salary was much higher than that of being a reporter. Moreover, the company was just starting out and it was the golden period of development. With his sister's ability, he could quickly outstanding. "Go back and ask Xiaoxiu tonight," Li Bingbing muttered, then turned around and entered the company. He quickly grabbed his things and left. He has to go to Hangzhou tomorrow. Chen Lian on the other side went to have dinner with Lin Fangmu. After dinner, he wanted to take him to heaven and earth, but he refused. It's normal not to think about it. For Lin Fangmu, it would be easy to leave traces behind. After Chen Lian sent Lin Fangmu away, he went directly to Chen Myron's place to check on the child and see if her cold was better. However, it was almost 10 o'clock when Chen Lian went there, and Chen Myron had already taken her medicine and rested, but Chen Ziyu was still thinking about life in the crib with his eyes wide open. A very quiet child who doesn't cry or make trouble, which is not very similar to Chen Lian. She probably just follows her mother. In comparison, the eldest princess is more like Chen Lian, who can make noises several times a night. Chen Lian looked at his well-behaved and quiet son, couldn't help pinching his face, and carried him to the living room. After playing with the child for a while, when he was about to fall asleep, Chen Lian took him back to the bedroom and let him sleep. After finishing it, Chen Lian also washed himself and went to bed quietly. The next morning, Chen Lian felt in a daze as if he was being pressed into bed by a ghost. After he tried to open his eyes, he saw his sweet son sitting on his chest, biting his pacifier and looking at him. Chen Lian looked at the boy with cute breasts and felt like he was turning into a cute boy. He stretched out his hand to lift him up and asked, "Xiao, where is mom? Where is mom?" Xiao waved his little short hand and pointed towards the door a few times, as if to say that his mother was outside. Chen Lian couldn't help laughing and shook him several times. Xiao is so smart. He will definitely be as talented as dad in the future. Hey, Xiao waved his little hand in response to Chen Lian. Chen Myron, who had already washed up at the door of the bedroom, looked at the father and son and couldn't help but said, "I heard you two complimenting each other early in the morning. Get up quickly. Auntie has prepared breakfast." Chen Lian laughed and sat up with the child in his arms, then put him on the bed and let him play by himself. "How do you feel? Why don't you rest for a while?" Chen Lian got up and touched Mei Chen's forehead. He felt relieved when he felt that there was no fever. Chen Myron pushed Chen Lian to wash up and said behind him, "It's better after a sleep. I've just been too tired recently." "Then let's rest for a while." Chen Lian turned his head and said, "What should I do if I take a break from work?" "Recruit a few more people to share the burden for you. Dab, I can also add more burdens. You, the boss, don't know what you are doing and think you are a part-time worker. I know, brush your teeth and go out to eat." Chen Myron pushed Chen Lian into the bathroom door and closed it, then turned and left. She actually wanted to find a few people to share the burden for her, but she didn't dare to delegate power easily, especially to Li Dabai, and she didn't want to. As for recruiting and training new people, it's not that simple, and it's hard to find talented people these days. However, now that the company's business is increasing, she is indeed too busy to handle it alone. If it doesn't work, she still has to give some power to Li Dabai. Thinking of how Li Dabai sent her home specially a few days ago, Chen Myron said to herself, "I hope she won't have any thoughts that she shouldn't have." After Chen Lian finished his meal in the morning, he did not go to the company with Chen Myron. Yesterday, the results of CCTV's bidding came out. Leixin won the bidding again with 208 million. Now I have to go back and ask Xiao Linmu about the specific situation, and the commercials for the new year will have to be refilmed. Chen Lian was thinking about using a big move, completely leaving his peers far behind. Nowadays, most of the advertising endorsements are made by one celebrity. Chen Lian is planning to create a family-friendly commercial. 4 or 5 top stars will shoot a 10-second commercial together, and the effect will definitely be sensational. After returning to his home, Chen Lian talked about his idea with Xiao Linmu and got approval. He began to think about which celebrities to film the advertisement. Chen Lian said with a smile, "Whoever is popular should look for me. Foreigners can also be considered." Xiao Linmu nodded and said, "Then you go and do this. You know these things better than me. I still have to go to the dealer for a meeting." Speaking of dealers, Chen Lian immediately said, "Second uncle, the dealer model has great disadvantages. There will definitely be problems in the future. We'd better establish our own sales channels and not rely too much on it." Xiao Linmu nodded and said, "It is true. Last year, many dealers were subcontracted, and there were many problems in communication and distribution. It was also difficult to put products into the target market. Consumers saw advertisements every day. I want to buy something but there is no place to buy it." Chen Lian nodded and said, "Moreover, the final payment involved in the distribution of goods is prone to problems. It must be avoided as soon as possible. In the future, the company will have more and more products, and the risks will become greater and greater." Xiao Linmu looked at Chen Lian and smiled and said, "You kid, if you talk too much, I'll have to break my leg. I don't know how much I'll have to drink." The greater the ability, the greater the responsibility. Chen Lian rubbed Xiao Linmu's shoulders and said, "Why am I not as good as you? I can only talk. Okay, stop fooling me and go about your own business. Okay, then don't forget about the MP3." Chen Lian ran away after saying that. He didn't go to the ministry yesterday and must go today. It's almost the end of the year, and the originally scheduled art exhibition has become a global tour. There are too many things involved, and we must communicate well with the department. If it were just Chen Lian's personal exhibition, there wouldn't be so much going on, but as a card to promote traditional culture, it couldn't be done casually. This is also a political task. Chen Lian has taken so many advantages, so naturally he has to achieve satisfactory results. In the next 10 days or so, Chen Lian basically held meetings and discussions in the ministry to finalize the plan for each exhibition. The importance of exhibitions in different countries is different, so the plans for the exhibitions must also be different. We must also consider how to maximize the publicity effect of this tour. In short, there are a lot of troubles. Chen Lian felt like he was going bald, and he still lacked a professional curator around him. However, Chen Lian didn't know many professional curators. The most powerful one was Ito Murangi, who was also a foreigner and was not suitable for participating in the planning of this touring exhibition. Chen Lian could only go into battle on his own. After working for more than 10 days to finalize all the plans, before he could breathe a sigh of relief, the craft masters came to Chen Lian one after another with their works for acceptance. They have been master craftsmen for many years, and the things they make are naturally good. They are basically no different from Chen Lian's design drawings. Chen Lian still admires these masters, but of course he is more greedy. He really wants to recruit these people to work for him. But we can only think about this kind of thing. Chen Lian doesn't have the dignity to take care of everyone. Chen Lian was working diligently on the art exhibition here, and Huo Jiankai wanted to go to Chen Lian's home and beat him up. The leading actor of the movie didn't show up after the movie was released. He doesn't care about the movie box office at all. Chen Lian had just finished meeting with several masters that day and was about to go home to rest when Huo Jian called him and asked him to leave. "Old Huo, why did you call me here in such a hurry?" Chen Lian looked at Huo Jiankai a little tiredly. Now he just wanted to go home and sleep. Huo Jiankai looked at Chen Lian and said, "The movie's box office performance is very poor. It has been 20 days since its release. The box office is only over 8 million, and the daily box office is only about 200,000. Huo Jiankai was really anxious. He was about to break through the 10 million mark. 10 million box office and several million box office were two different concepts. Originally, he thought that with Chen Lian's popularity, He Qing and Su Qing would be the same. If you join, you can earn tens of millions in box office no matter what. Now it seems that it is a bit difficult to get a box office of tens of millions, so Huo Jiankai became anxious. Chen Lian looked at Huo Jian, who was getting angry, and spread his hands and said, "Then there's nothing I can do about it. I've participated in all the previous promotions. I'm very dedicated, okay? You are an investor, so you are not in a hurry." Huo Jiankai was speechless. Chen Lian said nonchalantly, "Don't worry, I don't expect to make any money anyway, and the factory has invested more. Factory director Han should be more anxious than me." Huo Jiankai couldn't help but hold his forehead, saying that he had no hope of making any money. Big dog owner. Director Han is currently busy promoting Party A and Party B. It is the first Chinese New Year film in the country. He pays more attention to Party A and Party B. Huo Jiankai said with some helplessness. Commercial films are still valued. Chen Lian then remembered that Party A and Party B were about to be released, and he immediately became interested. Just as he was about to ask about the situation, he saw Huo Jiankai sigh. Chen Lian couldn't help but smacked his lips, but he didn't want to hurt him anymore, so he changed the topic and said, "Our goal is to win awards and overseas copyrights. The domestic box office does not matter. When the overseas rights are sold next year, we will have money. That's all we can do now." Huo Jiankai looked at Chen Lian and said seriously, "But can you take time to participate in the promotion tomorrow? There are two radio programs that I want to interview. Chen Lian asked curiously, what program? CCTV program, tell the truth to everyone. Huo Jiankai looked at Chen Lian and said seriously, while the movie hasn't been released yet, promote it again and strive to have a box office of over 10 million. Chen Lian looked at Huo Jiankai and said seriously, tell the truth, do you think it's suitable for me? If I tell the truth, either the show will be banned or I will be banned. Huo Jiankai, what you said makes sense, but who told you to tell the truth? There are a few people who tell the truth on the tell the truth column. I felt like I was suffering from yang, and I felt extremely uncomfortable. It took me several hours to write one chapter, and I had to sleep to finish the remaining chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Fringe artists in the entertainment industry. Author, Chizu de Xiaomao. Chapter 345. Chapter 334-333. Yufi Hung's view of love. On the noisy street, a black Mercedes-Benz drove towards the CCTV building. In the quiet car, Chen Lian looked at the script given by the program team, frowning and thinking about how to tell the truth when recording the program later. The theme of this issue is very interesting, the choice between dreams and reality. It mainly discusses how young people should choose when entering society under the rapid development of the times. If we just discuss dreams or reality alone, Chen Lian can say a lot of beautiful things, but when these two things are connected, many things inevitably become cruel. What's there to say about these things? Chen Lian didn't have any special feelings in his heart. He closed the book after reading it for a while and looked at the busy crowd outside the car window. How many people here are pursuing their dreams and how many people are just doing it? Survive. Dreams are the most luxurious and easily destroyed things in the world. Many people are so busy that their dreams are unknowingly crushed by reality before they realize it. Dreams are also based on material foundations. Dreams without material foundations are so ups and downs that it is unimaginable. Not to mention, there are many people in the entertainment industry who also pursue their dreams at the beginning, but it is not that easy, and some people's life is simply miserable. Chen Lian's dream is to be the most famous contemporary artist and the king of the world, but without money, he can only be a poor painter, or the kind who can't make a living. There is an interesting saying in the circle, who would do anything if he has money? Art. As for the dream of Neptune, Chen Lian has already realized half of it, but all of this is based on material foundation. If you don't have money, you can't even do it. Just when Chen Lian was thinking about when his dream would truly come true, his cell phone suddenly rang. Chen Lian looked at the unfamiliar number and thought it was from the Tell the Truth program crew, so he answered the call directly, but the voice on the other end of the phone made him a little dazed. I have returned to China. I want to see you wherever you are. Chen Lian was very surprised at this time. He didn't expect that Yufi Hung would call him after so long. The two had almost no contact after that night last year. Originally, Chen Lian was about to forget Yufi Hung, but he didn't expect that she would actually call him and say that she wanted to see him. Hey, can you hear me? Yufi Hung asked into the phone, feeling quite uneasy, fearing that Chen Lian was deliberately pretending not to hear. Hearing Yufi Hung ask again, Chen Lian came back to his senses and said, "Are you in the capital now? I'm going to CCTV to record a program soon. Tell me your location and I'll find you at the end of the afternoon." Okay, Yufi Hung agreed quickly, and then said her address gently. After Chen Lian wrote it down, he chatted with Yufi Hung for a few words and then hung up. He touched his chin and recalled how he and Yufi Hung met. It seemed very dull and the time was short. The only thing that left an impression was the two beautiful oleanders. Really white and beautiful. At this time, Yufi Hung hung up the phone and fell back on the soft big bed. There was also the ginkgo book on the pillow, and the pages were turned with some rough edges. Yu Fei-hung lay there and looked at the ceiling, remembering that night in his mind. That night, he seemed to be shaking and looking at the ceiling like this. Not knowing what she thought of, Yu Fei-hung sat up suddenly, trotted to open the closet and wondered what to wear at night. Yu Fei-hung's view of love is very strange. She believes in eternal love, but she doesn't believe that it will happen to her. In her opinion, love and marriage have nothing to do with love. She likes the kind of love in the book, and feels that she and Chen Lian are very similar to the kind of love in the book. There is no daily entanglement and triviality, and they don't even speak many words, but there is love in each other's hearts. Yu Fei-hung, who had picked out her clothes after a while, sat by the bed and picked up the ginkgo book, wondering if Chen Lian was looking forward to meeting her like herself. To be honest, Chen Lian didn't have women in his mind right now. He was just curiously looking at the backstage of CCTV. He also met several CCTV hosts on the way. Looking at these hosts who were dressed formally and spoke extremely well, Chen Lian had learned a lot of his lazy Beijing-style Mandarin. Backstage at Tell the Truth, Chen Lian met Xiao Kui for the first time. He had an obviously different feeling from those anchors. Those news anchors were too upright. At this time, Xiao Kui is still very high-spirited. To be honest, it has been broadcast since last year. In just over a year, it has become a household name. Xiao Kui has also become one of the most popular hosts at present. To be honest, after so many issues, Xiao Kui has met many celebrities, experts, and many artists, but this is the first time he has seen such a casual Chen Lian. When you come to participate in the recording of the show, you don't need to wear makeup, and you don't wear formal clothes. Instead of suits and ties, you wear simple and cool jeans and woolen jackets. In the dressing room of CCTV, Xiao Kui looked at Chen Lian, who was sitting aside, and said politely, "Teacher Chen, welcome to the Tell the Truth column. I am the host Xiao Kui." Chen Lian raised his head and looked at Xiao Kui standing up and said, "Hello. Teacher Chen, do you have anything to say about today's topic? The recording time is still early and we can communicate," Xiao Kui asked with a smile. Chen Lian smiled and said, "I don't have anything special to say, just follow the script." Xiao Kui looked at Chen Lian's calm appearance and relaxed a little. What he was most worried about was that Chen Lian would make some rebellious remarks. Art is the hardest thing to do. Now Chen Lian just wants to finish recording quickly and get off work, dreaming of having anything to say. But to be honest, it is indeed very popular and has many fans. Before the official recording, Chen Lian went around the studio. Many viewers took time off to attend the live recording. Chen Lian even gave out several autographs for a while. The recording of the program was uneventful. Xiao Kui was quite humorous and had a good grasp of the rhythm. Chen Lian's speech was also quite satisfactory. When talking about dreams, he would often talk about what insights he had while filming singers. In the end, Xiao Kui took the initiative to joke and said, "Teacher Chen is here today to promote the movie, not to talk about dreams and reality with us. This also shows that reality is more important." Artists like Teacher Chen have begun to advertise. Chen Lian laughed and joked, "Acting is a dream, and advertising is a reality. Without either one, it won't work. If I don't have the box office, no one will ask me to film." The recording of the program was relatively easy. Except for a few commercials by Chen Lian, it was basically very serious. After the recording of the program ended, Chen Lian declined Xiao Kui's invitation to have dinner together in the evening and rushed to Yu Fei-hung after leaving CCTV. It was originally in response to Lao Huo's request, so it was not easy to find time to record a program. Chen Lian doesn't need to tell the truth about this program to increase his popularity. There are a few people in China who don't know him as a thorny artist. On the way to see Yu Fei-hung, Chen Lian felt strange. He had no special feelings for Yu Fei-hung, but he felt strange. After meeting Yu Fei-hung, Chen Lian didn't know how to deal with it, but Yu Fei-hung was not unfamiliar with Chen Lian. When he opened the door and saw Chen Lian, he pulled him in and kissed him directly. The sudden enthusiasm made Chen Lian quickly forget all his unfamiliarity and got into the mood skillfully. However, he was held down when his hand was placed on Yu Fei-hung's button. Chen Lian made a move, and looked at Yu Fei-hung, who was panting slightly and blushing, and retracted his hand. This hand was so unconscious that it was a little out of control. Yu Fei-hung saw Chen Lian's embarrassment, took his hand and said, "It's still early, I want to talk to you." Okay, Chen Lian's embarrassment only lasted for a moment and then disappeared. He looked at Yu Fei-hung, who was sorting out his clothes, and asked, "Have you graduated? Are you ready to return to China for development?" "Well, I've already taken on new roles," Yu Fei-hung said with a smile. Chen Lian nodded. Yu Fei-hung had been abroad for 3 years and was able to receive roles immediately after returning to China. This network of connections is really worth mentioning. However, Yu Fei-hung's background is indeed not small. These days, there are very few people who can study abroad for 3 years. "What role did you play?" "The female lead," Chen Lian asked curiously. "The mistress." The second female lead. Yu Fei-hung felt a little embarrassed after saying this. She knew about Chen Lian and felt like she was a mistress now. Chen Lian didn't care and just smiled and said, "You are beautiful and elegant. This kind of role is actually not suitable for you, and who can make someone like you willing to be a mistress? The director's vision for casting is not very good. You should play a female number one." Hearing Chen Lian praise herself so much, Yu Fei-hung's embarrassment disappeared and she said with a smile, "The number one female lead is Zhang Wenli. I am no better than others now." Chen Lian raised his eyebrows slightly and recalled that among the investment projects he had seen in the company, he seemed to have seen a TV series with Zhang Wenli as the heroine. But he only invested part of it, and Chen Lian couldn't remember the specific content. "You are better than Wenli girl." Chen Lian held Yu Fei-hung's hand and said with a smile. Yu Fei-hung couldn't help but burst into laughter, looked at Chen Lian and joked, "What's your relationship with Zhang Wenli? You call her Wenli girl, but you don't want to be with her." "I have nothing to do with her. I don't even know her." "Don't get me wrong," Chen Lian immediately explained. "It's all because I watched too much Douyin in the past, and I got used to calling Wenli girl by netizens. Fortunately, I didn't say Wenli girl outside, otherwise people would think that I had something to do with Zhang Wenli." When Chen Lian thinks of Zhang Wenli, he will think of her performance in the movie Beginning of Spring. Her disfigured appearance is really impressive. So much so that Chen Lian has always had a very negative perception of Zhang Wenli's appearance. Yu Fei-hung looked at Chen Lian, who was anxious to explain, and felt strange in his heart. Was he afraid that I would misunderstand him or that I would be jealous? Seeing Yu Fei-hung looking at him strangely, Chen Lian coughed and said, "Do you like that character? I have invested in this drama. I can talk to the director and change the script." "No need," Yu Fei-hung said with unclear meaning, "I have never played a role like a mistress, so I just want to experience it." What kind of experience is there in this kind of role? Chen Lian didn't quite understand Yu Fei-hung's brain circuit. Who would want to experience being a mistress for excitement? Yu Fei-hung didn't explain. Isn't he just like a sneaky cat now? He looked at Chen Lian and said with a smile, "Okay, let's not talk about this anymore. Tell me about you. When I was in the United States, I often see your news. What's there to say about those things about me? 80% of the news in the newspaper is false. Fake? Not necessarily. It's all slander and slander. It will be more convincing if you take your hands off my legs when you say this." "Ahem. I can't control my hands. I'll go back to the hospital for a checkup." In the evening, Chen Lian and Yu Fei-hung went out to eat together, and hurried back after eating, as if they had a lot to talk to each other. Chen Lian feels that his life is full of freshness every day. He wakes up in other people's beds every 3 days and cannot sleep in his own bed more than a few times a year. Sometimes, Chen Lian felt that his flat floor was just like a hotel. The morning sun was very warm. Chen Lian hugged Yu Fiheng and nestled on the sofa, holding a novel in his hand. When he read the last page, Yu Fiheng couldn't help but sigh. When any story ends, sometimes I really want those favorite stories to continue forever. Yu Fiheng looked at the steaming coffee, picked it up and took a sip before putting away the sadness in her heart. She turned around and asked, "Are you leaving today?" "I'm going to Paris tomorrow, and a global tour is about to begin," Chen Lian explained, hugged Yu Fiheng and asked, "We just met yesterday, and I have to leave today. Are you disappointed?" "No," Yu Fiheng hesitated and said, "It's difficult for me to maintain a long-term relationship. This is the best way. Both of us are relaxed." Hearing Yu Fiheng's words, Chen Lian liked it so much. He likes people who are not clingy. He immediately took Yu Fiheng's hand and said, "In this case, don't waste time. Are you still coming? Aren't you tired?" Yu Fiheng twisted her body, feeling that she had not recovered yet, and she was even more determined that it was right not to be with Chen Lian every day. Thinking of Chen Lian's performance last night, Yu Fiheng figured out one thing. No wonder he was so frivolous. If he were to be with only one person, neither of them could stand it. The day's plan lies in the morning. Chen Lian ignored Yu Fiheng's coercion and refusal, and went straight to do morning exercises on the sofa in the living room. By the time Chen Lian left Yu Fiheng's place, he could have lunch. Chen Lian didn't feel hungry. Although he had consumed a lot of energy just now, he was still full of energy because he was young and in good health. "I have to go back to pack my things today and finish all the unfinished things. I'm flying to Paris tomorrow, and I don't know how long I'll be busy this time. I don't know whether Sophie Marceau is in Hollywood or Paris now, but it doesn't matter, the American Chen Lian is going there anyway. Hollywood, Chen Lian is quite looking forward to it. Today I slept until about 9 o'clock in the evening. The fever went down, but I still felt very uncomfortable. I overestimated my recovery ability. I'm writing very slowly today. I remember all the debt I owe in the past 2 days. When I get better, I'll make up for it in a week. Dear adoptive fathers, please forgive me. Fringe artists in the entertainment industry. Author, Chizu de Xiaomao. Chapter 346. Chapter 335-334. Stealing the first place's limelight. The leaves of the Paris plane tree in late autumn have turned golden yellow, and they are falling rustlingly in the autumn wind. Paris in autumn always gives people a sense of leisure after retirement. When you stroll leisurely on the streets and a fallen leaf falls on your head, you will feel like you have been chosen by the romance of autumn. When the car drives through the streets, the fallen leaves rolled up give it a leisurely aesthetic. Of course, you have to ignore the homeless people lying on the streets. There have been more and more refugees in Paris in the past 2 years. Chen Lian closed the car window and sighed silently in his heart. In a few years, the streets of Paris may not have such beautiful scenery. Behind Chen Lian's car was a convoy of more than a dozen vehicles, all of which were artworks about to be exhibited. If Chen Lian had not recreated those traditional handicrafts, they could only be called handicrafts. Even if he came to Paris for an exhibition, it would not be an art exhibition but a handicraft exhibition. There is only one artist difference between art and crafts. Those domestic masters can only be called craftsmen, which is a pity when you think about it. Soon the car arrived next to the Musée d'Orsay. When Chen Lian opened the door and got out of the car, he saw Ji Fa, who had been waiting here, come up to him and gave Chen Lian a warm hug. If he hadn't seen Bai Qing, who got off the car right after, she also wanted a wet French kiss. After hugging Chen Lian, Ji Fa ran over to hug Bai Qing and gave him a kiss. Bai Qing's treatment was much better than Chen Lian's. Chen Lian didn't pay attention and walked towards the motorcade behind him. The cars were filled with artworks flown in along with them. Now it is time to arrange the exhibition hall in advance. For a week-long art exhibition in Paris, it will take several days just to prepare, which is very troublesome. The team members who came to Paris with Chen Lian also got off the car one after another, and they were all looking at the Orsay Museum in front of them in amazement. On the way from the airport, they had been immersed in the beautiful streets of Paris. It was the first time for a large number of people to go abroad, and their excitement and curiosity were all written on their faces. Going abroad with Chen Lian for an art exhibition is equivalent to a trip at public expense, and it is a global trip. Chen Lian looked at their excitement and said with a smile, "Teachers, please wait a moment and take down these works first. After placing them, I will send the teachers to the hotel to rest." "It's okay, don't worry. Xiao Chen, can you go inside and visit it? I haven't seen any foreign museums yet." Chen Lian smiled and said, "Of course, I will buy tickets for you." After saying that, Chen Lian turned around and looked at Lu Tao, who was also very excited, and said, "Xiao Bai, it's your first time to go abroad with me. Now let's get some exercise, buy tickets for the teachers, and take them to visit." Lu Tao's excitement disappeared and he only felt pressure. Looking at the ticket office of the Musée d'Orsay, I took a deep breath. I felt that the time had come to test myself, and I didn't know whether the English I had practiced so hard would work. Lu Tao tidied his clothes and walked toward the ticket office majestically. When Chen Lian looked at her back, he still felt a sense of resignation. He hoped that the conductor could understand her plastic English. In the future, when looking for an assistant, you need to look for someone with a higher degree of education. Although Lu Tao has grown up very quickly, it still takes time to train him. Lu Tao stumbled and communicated with the conductor for a long time. After finally buying the ticket, he ran back excitedly to claim credit from Chen Lian. After a few words of praise, Chen Lian asked her to take people to visit. After everyone in the team left, Chen Lian and Ji Fa went to see the layout of the exhibition hall. The booths in the exhibition hall have been arranged. These have been communicated in advance. Now it is just a matter of placing them according to the location. After looking around, Chen Lian was quite satisfied. The Musée d'Orsay is a relatively famous art museum in Paris. There are many artists who come to hold exhibitions every year, so the exhibition hall naturally has nothing to say. Whether an exhibition can be successful or not, the exhibition hall is very important, but the artist and the means of publicity are more important. Chen Lian looked at Ji Fa and asked proactively, "Do you need my help in publicity these days?" "No need," Ji Fa said with a smile, "you go to Venice to attend the closing ceremony first. Winning the award is the best publicity." Chen Lian shook his head slightly and said, "There is little hope of winning the award. It is unlikely that the organizer will give me the gold medal for 2 consecutive years. The Venice Art Festival has come to an end, and Chen Lian is actually not sure whether he can win the award. After all, he already won the award in the previous festival. It is basically impossible for the same person to win the award for 2 consecutive years. Even if Chen Lian's work is very good, it has attracted a lot of attention and influence." Ji Fa flipped up her long golden hair and said with a smile, "The gold medal is impossible, but the silver medal is possible, and you have also been shortlisted for the 100 most influential contemporary artists in the world. It will be announced at the end of the month." Not to mention this, Chen Lian has almost forgotten that he was selected into the list of 100 people. Life in China is still too comfortable. There are no art festivals and no awards. Chen Lian has only won the Outstanding Work Award in the National Art Exhibition once in China. Many people took it together. Speaking of which, he was really not doing well in China. Chen Lian thought for a while, wondering if he could take the lead in organizing an art festival in China when he had the opportunity. There are too many ideas, and it's useless to talk about them now. It's better to be busy with the things at hand and talk about other things later. After Chen Lian watched all the works being unloaded and placed at the Orsay Art Museum, he went to the art museum like a tour guide to find someone to take them back to the hotel one by one. It was still early to return to the hotel. Chen Lian settled them down and asked Lu Tao to take charge of the arrangements at the hotel, then went to Ji Fa's house. Why would he stay in a hotel when there was a villa? At night, Chen Lian, Bai Qing, and Ji Fa were nesting on the sofa in the living room, watching boring French movies, drinking red wine and chatting. The atmosphere was not lively, but it was very reassuring. The few of them chatted and occasionally thought of something interesting to share, and after laughing, they leaned together and watched boring movies. But the wine in the bottle became less and less, until late at night, the three of them were dizzy from drinking, lying on the sofa and fell asleep. The movie on the TV was still playing, and in the black and white picture, the old man in a formal dress was mumbling lines that were incomprehensible. The next morning, Chen Lian got up on the floor. He rubbed his sore neck and couldn't help but hum a few times. He slept on the floor all night and his face was numb from sleep. Ji Fa and Bo Qing hugged each other and slept comfortably on the sofa. After Chen Lian got up and washed up, he went to make breakfast. Ji Fa ran over after a while, holding a toothbrush in her mouth and muttering, "My bacon needs to be browned, and the milk should not be afraid of the heat." "I know, by the way, have the tickets been decided?" Chen Lian asked while frying bacon. Ji Fa looked at Chen Lian, who was frying bacon with his upper body bare, and then glanced outside the kitchen. He hugged him from behind and ate 2 handfuls of tofu before saying with satisfaction, "I've arranged a flight for you at 2 o'clock in the afternoon." Chen Lian was speechless. Ji Fa was a female hooligan. All the toothpaste foam on his hands was smeared on him. Ji Fa squeezed Chen Lian's muscles and said, "I'll go to the exhibition hall with you later. I have some things to discuss with you. Just keep talking and don't touch anyone." Chen Lian slapped Ji Fa's claws off angrily and asked strangely, "Why are you still going to the exhibition hall? Didn't you finish talking about it yesterday?" Ji Fa glanced at Bai Qing, who had already washed up and appeared in the restaurant, winked secretly at Chen Lian, raised his voice and said, "There is something wrong with the poster over there in the exhibition hall. Come and see it together. Is it okay? It will delay your and Bai Qing's trip to Venice." Only then did Chen Lian understand what Ji Fa meant. He twitched his lips and nodded helplessly, "Okay." After breakfast, Chen Lian and Ji Fa went out. Bai Qing was too lazy to move and didn't even ask to go with them. After going out, Ji Fa couldn't help but pull Chen Lian into a kiss at the door of the villa. There was only a door between them and Bo Qing, and they could still hear Bo Qing listening to music in the room. Neither of them dared to make too much noise, but they couldn't bear to separate, so they leaned against the door and kissed for a long time. After a long time, the two separated. Chen Lian breathed slightly and whispered, "Why do you feel like you are having an affair?" Ji Fa lifted Chen Lian's chin and said, "Don't you just like this?" Chen Lian, obviously you like it more. At 1:30 in the afternoon, Bai Qing, who had arrived at the airport early, looked at Chen Lian who was rushing over. After sniffing a few times, he wrinkled his nose and couldn't help but frown. There was a strange smell of shower gel and a familiar perfume. Taste. Chen Lian naturally turned away and walked a little away from Bai Qing before saying, "We are boarding the plane now, let's go quickly." Yeah, Bo Qing didn't ask where the strange smell on Chen Lian came from. Who else could it be in Paris? Sophie Marceau. I really don't know what's so good about that woman, but this shitty man wouldn't want to be separated from her. Sophie Marceau, who was filming in the United States, suddenly sneezed, rubbed her small nose and counted how many days she had until she could finish the film and return to Paris. Chen Lian and Bai Qing flew to Venice. Lu Tao, who was left behind, was having a headache. A group of masters in their 40s and 50s surrounded him and asked him to take them out. He felt like he was about to become a tour guide. "Little girl, please take us to see Notre Dame de Paris. Do you have any foreign exchange there? I want to buy something back. We don't speak foreign languages. We can't go out without you." Lu Tao felt that one was older than the other, but he also knew that this was Chen Lian's task to train himself, so he had to patiently explain to them, and then exchange foreign currency with them to determine today's itinerary. More than an hour later, a group of men and women wearing red hats, led by Lu Tao, rushed to various scenic spots in Paris. In Venice at night, lights are reflected on the sparkling water. In the venue not far away, the closing ceremony of the Venice Art Biennale is underway. Chen Lian and Bo Qing sat among a group of Chinese artists, listening to Germano's speech. Cai Qiaqiang and Fang Lijun, who were familiar with Chen Lian, took the initiative to chat with him about who would win the award tonight. They all think that Chen Lian is more likely to win the award, but Chen Lian does not think that he can win the grand prize. First, he won the award last time, and second, his most highly rated work this time is installation art. If it's oil painting, it's possible to win an award, but if it's installation art, it's still a little bit worse. Chen Lian thought about the works he had seen at this art exhibition and felt that German artist Gerhard Richter was the most likely to win the award. Soon the moment finally came when the answer was revealed. When the Silver Lion Award was awarded, Germano stood on the stage and glanced at Chen Lian, then said with a smile, "Let us congratulate Chen Lian for winning the Silver Lion Award. He is a man with great talents, a passionate and rational artist. His works will leave a profound impression on the art of the 20th century." Chen Lian was not surprised. He stood up with a smile and went on stage to receive the award. When he received the Silver Lion trophy, he glanced at it and joked, "Silver is not as good looking as gold, but I already have a gold one at home, and this one is just symmetrical. I hope I can bring back a lion next time and we can make a family of 3. The audience suddenly laughed to save face, feeling that Chen Lian was showing off. This guy has won the award 2 times in a row and wants to win it 3 times in a row. Many of these artists in the audience have never won an award in their lives. Chen Lian thanked him a few more times on the stage and then left. After coming down, Cai Qiaqiang curiously took the Silver Lion trophy and looked at it for a few times and said, "The flying lion of San Marco is somewhat similar to the griffin. They are all the same. Western mythical creatures either have wings or are multi-headed monsters," Chen Lian said with a smile, and then heard the winner of this year's grand prize announced on the stage. The grand prize winner of the 47th Venice Art Biennale, Gerhard Richter. When Chen Lian heard this, he immediately applauded and turned to Cai Qiaqiang and said, "Well, I'll say he has the greatest chance of winning." "Okay, you guessed it right." Cai Qiaqiang had to admit that Chen Lian's vision was very accurate. After the last award was given, the evening was almost over, but the talk was not entirely focused on the grand prize winner, Gerhard Richter. Many artists and reporters are more curious about Chen Lian and want to chat with him. Since Chen Lian's performance art bombing of Tokyo ended in August, he has not officially accepted an interview with an art magazine. Chen Lian is now more topical, and naturally takes away some of the limelight that originally belonged to the grand prize winner. A reporter who had interviewed Chen Lian before came to Chen Lian and said, "Congratulations on winning the silver medal. Although you did not win the gold medal, there is still good news to share with you. You have been selected into the top 100 in the world." Chen Lian looked at this reporter and remembered that he was a reporter from Art Observation. He had told him before that Sophie Marceau had written an autobiography. "Thank you, has this news been announced?" Chen Lian asked curiously. The reporter smiled and said, "It will be announced in the latest issue of the magazine tomorrow. You are the youngest one. Maybe I can see you on the list every year in the future." Chen Lian smiled and said, "I hope that one day I will become one of the 100 most influential people in the 20th century in 1997. It will happen one day. I am looking forward." There is another chapter. What I owe in the first 2 days will be made up in the next few days. Fringe artists in the entertainment industry. Author, Chizuda Xiaomao. Chapter 347. Chapter 336-335. Chen Lian is up to something new again. In a quiet night, Chen Lian was sitting on the balcony of the hotel holding the Silver Lion Award trophy in his hand. Hotels in Venice are very stylish. Under the balcony facing the street is the turquoise water, and the evening breeze brings moisture and chill. Chen Li quietly looked at the ripples on the water's surface, and suddenly felt that his desire had decreased. He felt that the reason for his reduced desire was very simple. He was sitting here looking at the quiet water and suddenly wanted to make a nest and hit a few shots. Why do you want to fish when you are only in your 20s? Chen Lian sighed and got up and went back to the house. The night light was on in the room. Bai Qing was leaning on the bedside and looking at the brochure. When he saw Chen Lian coming in, he just asked lightly if he wanted to go to the exhibition together tomorrow. Chen Lian was not interested. He fell on the bed and smelled Bai Qing's scent and said, "Go and see for yourself. I'm going back to Paris tomorrow. There are too many things to do on this tour and I'm too tired." "Then I won't go either." Bai Qing closed the picture album and put it aside, turned on the night light and said, "Go to sleep." The room fell into darkness, and it was so quiet that only the faint sound of breathing could be heard. After a while, Chen Lian's somewhat unhappy voice came from the darkness. "Are you no longer interested in me?" As if he didn't expect Chen Lian to speak like this, Bai Qing was stunned for a while before saying, "Didn't you complain that you were tired? You hold me to sleep." Chen Lian's muffled voice sounded. Bai Qing couldn't help but laugh, turned over and hugged Chen Lian, patted his back and said, like a child, "Go to sleep, go to sleep." Ye Chen Lian hummed with satisfaction, closed his eyes and fell asleep. Early the next morning, the sun shone into the room. Chen Lian and Bai Qing got up early, packed their things, and left Venice. During this hurried trip to Venice, Chen Lian only took away a Silver Lion Award. Many media who wanted to interview Chen Lian failed to find him. The only thing that caught his eye was the photo of him winning the award in the newspaper. The Venice Gazette on this day spent a lot of space introducing the awards at the Venice Biennale, and this report also spent a lot of space introducing Chen Lian. Chen Lian's first movie, his first participation in an international art exhibition, and his first award were all here. Even the Venetians felt very fond of this oriental face. After all, we often see this guy in newspapers. But the most exciting news in the art world today is the selection of the 100 most influential contemporary artists in the world. Such news is accompanied by a certain amount of controversy. After all, everyone has their own opinions on who can be selected and who is not selected. However, no one has any objections to Chen Lian, who ranks highest. After all, this time we are talking about influence. It will be difficult to find someone more influential than Chen Lian this year. Not convinced? If you can, go blow up Tokyo. Chen Lian won the Silver Lion Award in Venice and was selected as one of the top 100 artists in the world. His name has become the most discussed topic in the art circle today. Even among young people, many people like Chen Lian. Charming and unrestrained artists can always be admired and liked by young people. After a short 2-day trip to Venice, Chen Lian returned to Paris with honors, and the news of his exhibition in Paris spread quickly. This is Chen Lian's third art exhibition, and many people are very interested. Many art collectors who had not originally set their sights on Chen Lian are now interested. Most of Chen Lian's previous works have been collected by Bernard. This time Chen Lian has launched again, so naturally many people are interested. In the Musée d'Orsay in Paris, Chen Lian worked with teachers from China to decorate the exhibition hall. It was quite fun to say that these old masters were very cute. I don't want to let the French staff touch these works, for fear that they will be bumped into. At this time, Chen Lian was working with a ceramic master to move a large bottle over 1 meter high. After placing it, the master inspected it carefully and said, "It took me several months to make this thing. If it gets knocked," I cried without even crying. "Master Wang, don't worry, I promise to keep an eye on you. Your big bottle is really good," Chen Lian promised with a smile. Master Wang said with some pride, "I started learning from my father when I was 16, and it has been decades now. This is my most satisfying work. Now that I have the opportunity to open the eyes of these foreigners, I have to watch it carefully." Chen Lian smiled and chatted with Master Wang for a few more words before going about other things. Master Wang said that he had been doing this for decades, and most of the other masters were the same. This is something they will do all their lives. Some of them have never even been to junior high school. They have been studying crafts all their lives. They are definitely craftsmen of a great country. But it was precisely this that Chen Lian felt was a pity. A craftsman is always a craftsman, and there is still something missing if he wants to become a master. Just like the painter village in Guangzhou, the painters there have been copying the works of masters all their lives. They even have better painting techniques than many artists, but they cannot draw works of art and can only copy. Sometimes there is just a little bit of aura missing, a little bit of opportunity missing. Chen Lian looked at them and felt that he was quite lucky, and he respected them even more in his heart. They were all great people. The exhibition hall is being decorated, and Jifa's promotion has not stopped. If it is just to promote the exhibition in Paris, it does not need to spend so much effort. Chen Lian is still very famous in Paris. After all, he is the man who dated Rose of France. The name alone can attract many people to join in the fun. It's just that this is a global tour, and Jifa wants to ensure that the first stop in Paris can be launched so that everyone can look forward to other stops that follow. Jifa is very busy looking for people to promote, busy hyping Chen Lian's reputation even more, and at the same time busy popularizing Chinese traditional culture. Otherwise, how would people know what Chen Lian's art exhibition is this time? The collision of modern art and traditional craftsmanship, such contradictory and abstract things are indeed very attractive. In Europe, Chinese traditional culture has always been quite attractive, and now coupled with the modern art they are familiar with, they are extremely curious. This is actually what Chen Lian hopes to see. This large-scale science popularization is also a means of promoting traditional culture. In addition to setting up the exhibition hall these 2 days, Chen Lian also found time to participate in Jifa's promotion. Interviews with media magazines were held almost every day. Everything now is really thanks to Jifa. An ordinary manager would not have this ability. Chen Lian is busy every day and can't remember how many interviews he has received from media magazines in the past 4 or 5 days. However, there are many rewards from such busy work. On the day of the launch, many people came. Parisian celebrities, art lovers, and many journalists also showed up. One thing that is very good about art exhibitions is that there are not so many worldly things. An exhibition is an exhibition, and it does not involve so many links like a movie premiere, including walking on the red carpet. Chen Lian and Bai Qing were just in the exhibition hall. After all the visiting guests arrived, they gave a simple opening introduction. My country is a country with a history of 5,000 years. It has given birth to a lot of brilliant culture and art over the long years. Many of the cultures and arts developed to this day may not be in line with the trend of the times, but today you will see modern art, the perfect fusion with tradition, the collision of ancient skills and modern ideas. You will see a brand new ancient civilization. After Chen Lian finished speaking, warm applause immediately erupted in the exhibition hall, and then each of the mysterious exhibits that had been covered up had their red covers pulled down. Artworks that combine the craftsmanship accumulated by thousands of years of history and culture with modern artistic thinking are all on display. The beautiful but strangely shaped porcelain now reflected dazzling light. The painting, composed of colorful paper cuts, seems to become a three-dimensional painting under the light. The special reed paintings use the unique material of reeds to create paintings as thick as oil paintings. The colorful and tie-dyed pieces are combined on the soft cloth to form a painting with a different style. Each piece of art is like a blooming flower, rooted in traditional craftsmanship and blossoming into a new era. Many of the collectors who came today are interested in porcelain. The porcelain designed by Chen Lian is very different from traditional Chinese porcelain. Bernard looked at the porcelain in front of him and couldn't find an accurate adjective to describe it for a while. It looked like a postmodern sculpture, but the material was porcelain. This magical feeling was a little difficult for him to understand for a while. The irregularly twisted curved surface is like a piece of flannel that has been hit by a bullet. The fine cracks on the porcelain are so appropriate for the scene. The light on the right side is bright, but combined with the strange shape, it feels like a treasure has been smashed. Bernard felt an inexplicable emotion of pity in his heart, and he admired this work very much. But Master Wang, who was standing nearby, blushed a little. He didn't quite understand what this thing could do. It was neither a utensil nor a dish. Even the cracks on it were faked later. It's really an embarrassment to our ancestors. Our skills are not good enough, and we haven't made any good-looking utensils yet. We have made such a mess that we can't understand anything. Master Wang sighed slightly. If it weren't for the arrangement of the ministry and if he hadn't heard that Chen Lian was a great artist, he wouldn't have made such a thing. Just as Master Wang was about to turn around and leave to guard the 1-meter-high bottle he had made, he heard the man in a fine suit say something excitedly. It's just that Master Wang didn't understand any foreign languages, so he was thinking of curse words. If Master Wang could understand, he would know that what Bernard said was praising the beauty of this work of art and asking whether it was for sale. But now there are no people who can translate, so Master Wang can only shake his head and leave. Porcelain is beautiful, but it is the paper cutting, reed paintings and tie-dyed paintings that attract those artists. They were amazed that these things could produce such beautiful paintings. They felt that the door to the new world had been opened. Although the materials and media for painting have been refreshed time and time again in the development of modern art, these traditional craftsmanship made them the paintings are more beautiful and novel. Layers of paper cuts, combined layer by layer, form a three-dimensional painting. Under the illumination of light and shadow, it seems that light is used as paint to create a beautiful oil painting. Several artists gathered around the paper-cut paintings, and their eyesight changed in different ways when changing the angle. They were all stunned when they saw it. There were a lot of people around the tie-dye paintings. There were a lot of people watching the paintings, but more of them were watching the tie-dye masters doing tie-dyeing on the spot, and they were all queuing up to try it out. Chen Lian specially prepared a lot of white t-shirts for tourists to experience in person and then take them home as a souvenir. Of course, there is a fee for these t-shirts, $100 each, and there is no charge for tie-dyeing. If you want the master to tie-dye it for you personally, it will cost you $1,000. When Chen Lian set the price, several tie-dye masters felt that Chen Lian was too evil, and they could get this thing for just a few dollars. $100 for a t-shirt, and another $1,000 for them to tie-dye. Will anyone experience this? Isn't this something only a prodigal can do? But Chen Lian was very insistent at the time and said that their technology was worth $100. Now seeing so many people queuing up, the chef suddenly felt that Chen Lian was being conservative. These foreigners should be so rich and yet so stupid, so they should pay more. Young people, why are you so timid at such a young age? You should charge more. Several old masters feel as if they have missed out on hundreds of millions. You must know that they also have a share of this money. While several old masters were heartbroken about missing out on hundreds of millions and were shocked that foreigners had too much money, Chen Lian was discussing reed paintings with several European artists in front of a reed painting. Reed painting is actually a non-traditional material painting, but the material is very special and has strong limitations. The creative space is not very large, and there are many constraints imposed by the material. Chen Lian pointed to one of the reed paintings and said, in traditional reed paintings, the color is very single, which is the true color of the reed. It expresses more oriental freehand brushwork. But I think the texture of the reed material is the same as the texture of the oil painting. It's very similar, so I use reeds to create such realistic paintings. The artists around looked at the reed painting, then turned to look at Chen Lian, wanting to ask him, so you made a self-portrait? You even added a beard to yourself to look so sexy? Chen Lian felt a little embarrassed by their looks. He coughed and said, let's go look at something else. The other water lily is also good. Reeds turn into water lilies. It's a very interesting transformation. Click click. The reporter in the exhibition hall recorded the scene with his camera, and then turned around to take pictures of other works and guests. The works brought by Chen Lian this time really allowed these people to see a different Oriental culture. Chen Lian never disappoints, he always does something new every time. It has also brought many fantastic ideas to many artists. Perhaps in the future we will see more and more modern art containing Oriental elements. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Fringe artists in the entertainment industry. Author, Chizu de Xiaomao. Chapter 348. Chapter 337-336. Sophie Marceau's remuneration. In the brightly lit exhibition hall, there are many tourists coming and going. The Paris exhibition has been open for 3 days, but the popularity has not diminished. On the contrary, the reputation has become better and better as time goes by. In the past 3 days, Chen Lian's exhibition has become very famous. There are many news reports on Chen Lian's art exhibition in newspapers and magazines. Chen Lian's name once again appeared in newspapers large and small in Paris. Many of them were promoted by Jifa, but many of them were spontaneously initiated by the media. But the most unexpected thing is that many tabloids are reporting on Chen Lian. In the past, such tabloids reported entertainment gossip. Early that morning, Jifa smiled and threw a newspaper to Chen Lian and said, "You are already in the gossip newspapers." Chen Lian took the newspaper, glanced at it, and threw it away. These newspapers were really boring, and they were still trying to make him and Sophie Marceau uninterested. However, Sophie Marceau is indeed going back to Europe soon. Chen Lian estimates that when Sophie Marceau gets off the plane in Paris, these tabloids will still follow up and report. Chen Lian is in trouble now. Anyway, the matter between him and Sophie Marceau is out in the open. Reporters can report it if they like. Abroad is not the same as China, so romance is not a big problem. On the contrary, it will make people think that Chen Lian is really serious. After all, he is an artist. Chen Lian will stay in Paris for 4 more days. I wonder if Sophie Marceau can come back in time. If not, she will have to meet in London. Chen Lian has been very busy these 2 days, not only busy with exhibitions but also dealing with those rich bosses. Many art collectors are very interested in Chen Lian's works this time. However, Chen Lian and Jifa are not planning to auction it now. They will wait until the global tour is over to hype it up. That will be the most beneficial time. Change. If they auction it now, firstly, they won't be able to get a high price, and secondly, their plans in Tokyo are not ready yet, so they can't take advantage of the popularity. Although Chen Lian is not preparing to auction, it does not mean that he cannot make money. The daily tickets are a lot of income, and Bernard also plans to have a joint cooperation with Chen Lian. The partner is a high-end luxury brand owned by him. Now that Chen Lian is famous, he also wants to ride on the popularity of Chen Lian as an artist, or try a new model. Since 1992, the fashion industry has undergone earth-shaking changes. Luxury brands have been acquired and reorganized on a large scale. Celebrities and stars have begun to enter the fashion industry. Models and designers have begun to enter the spotlight. In 1993, even American middle-class housewives all know those luxury brands. This is the impact of the fashion industry and luxury brands working together to change, and the driving force behind it is Bernard, the leader of the LVMH group in front of Chen Lian. In recent years, the mainstream of the fashion industry has been young designers. Even the chief designer of Givenchy, owned by LVMH, is Alexander McQueen, who has only been in the industry for a few years. There are many young designers like McQueen. They are the new generation and are challenging the dominance of their predecessors. Recklessness, rebellion, and decadence are synonymous with them. The only popular culture in the 21st century is fashion, and these young designers are the cultural pioneers of fashion. In the quiet cigar room, Bernard looked at Chen Lian while sipping his cigar and said with a smile, "These young people are very extreme, but they do bring different blood and vitality to the fashion industry, but I want to try a different way. Fashion and art are closely related. You are the most diverse and creative artist I have ever seen. Do you want to give it a try?" Chen Lian, a fashion designer, didn't know much about it, but that didn't matter. He had already wanted to do this, so it would be nice to practice with Bernard now. However, in the 1990s, few artists would participate in the fashion industry. In another 10 years, more artists will actively embrace the fashion industry. Now Chen Lian can be regarded as a pioneer in the art world entering the fashion industry. Chen Lian smelled the aroma of cigars on the tip of his nose, thought for a while and agreed to Bernard's invitation. "Of course, I am also very interested in pop culture." Chen Lian looked at Bernard and said, "Art and pop culture are closely related, and I also have many ideas that I want to try." Bernard said with a smile, "Then I'm looking forward to your attempt. I will help you get the tickets for the Fashion Week." "Thank you," Chen Lian said with a smile. "There are requirements to enter Paris Fashion Week, and you need to be recognized by the association. Even if you are an artist like Chen Lian who has become a monk halfway and has no achievements, you can't just get in. At the very least, you need someone to clear the relationship. Fashion also has associations, which is quite strange. There are associations in all walks of life around the world, just to control the voice of the industry. But things like fashion and art are boring if they have associations and rulers. There is an invisible driving force behind every year's pop culture. You think talented designers are driven by capital. Sometimes fashion is like a joke. The designer is also dancing in a cage. The only freedom is that he can choose the style of the cage himself. Chen Lian doesn't have a cage, and he doesn't expect to make a name for himself in the fashion industry as a designer. He is going to be the boss in the future, so who has nothing to do to play in a cage? If you want to do it, just watch the show outside the cage. But Chen Lian doesn't have time to take care of these things now. There are many things to do on the tour. Paris will end in a few days, and the next stop in London must be prepared in advance. Life is very busy. Chen Lian is really busy now. He has to take care of the exhibition in Paris every day, and he has to communicate with GFA every day in London. That is to say, with the experience in Paris, many things can be solved. Got experience. Bai Qing is also very busy. After staying in Paris for 2 days, she returned to Venice. The works she and Chen Lian exhibited in Venice can now be recycled and taken away. Originally, the works that Bai Qing and Chen Lian created together were just a few paintings that could be easily taken away, but Chen Lian's installation art was too big. During this time, the organizing committee of the Venice Biennale arranged for people to tear down the walls, and only then did Chen Lian's works can be brought out. Bai Qing is now in the past to receive Chen Lian's Inspire No. 3 and bring it to Paris to participate in Christie's spring auction next year. Now that Chen Lian is famous, he no longer needs to sell it first and then participate in auctions to hype it up. As for hype, Chen Lian and Jifa no longer need to spend a lot of energy on it. People who want to collect or use art for other purposes will do it secretly. This is also one of the benefits of being famous. Otherwise, every work requires managers to spend a lot of energy behind the scenes to promote it, so why would you be famous? After an artist reaches a certain position, capital will take the initiative to pursue many things, and the artist becomes a production machine. You only need to be responsible for the output, and the capital will do the rest for you. The trio is now scattered in 3 places. Chen Lian is watching an exhibition in Paris, Bai Qing is picking up works in Venice, and Jifa is busy planning the next art exhibition in London. When Chen Lian held a meeting with the ministry before coming to the London Station exhibition, the ministry specifically emphasized that it attached great importance to the London Station art exhibition. As for the reason, it's very simple. The British stole so many cultural relics from us, and I feel suffocated in my heart. Chen Lian's exhibition in London must be successful and large-scale, so that those robbers can see that you have stolen Chinese things, but you cannot steal the culture and spirit. The profound heritage of Chinese culture is constantly bursting out new culture and art. This is the heritage of a great cultural country. It is not comparable to those robbers who only know how to steal. This is the attitude that the ministry wants to express, and Chen Lian also thinks it's very good. Time passed quickly, and in a blink of an eye, it was the 5th day of Paris Station. Bai Qing had not come back yet, but Sophie Marceau came back from Hollywood first. The news of Sophie Marceau's return to China was not kept secret at all. She was surrounded by reporters as soon as she got off the plane in Paris. The beautiful Sophie Marceau showed no signs of impatience when faced with reporters' flashbulbs. She didn't show signs of fatigue even after sitting on a plane for several hours. She looked stunning in the camera. Chen Lian wore sunglasses and leaned against a pillar not far from the airport pickup port, looking at her without exposing himself. It doesn't matter how you write the gossip, but you can't give reporters concrete facts. After Sophie Marceau walked out of the passage and led reporters towards the parking lot, Chen Lian stood up and went to the parking lot. Sophie Marceau walked slowly, and Chen Lian came to the car before her, sitting in the back seat and yawning. Soon Sophie Marceau came over and handed the luggage to the driver, then quickly opened the door and got in the car. The cameras in the hands of the reporters following Sophie Marceau were almost smoking. When the car door was opened just now, they only saw one person sitting inside, but they didn't know who it was. The anxious reporter trotted over to see who was in the car. Although everyone knew that the most likely person was Chen Lian, what if it wasn't? What if Chen Lian gets dumped? Even if there is no chance that it really is Chen Lian inside, then we can still take a real photo. It's a pity that the car is covered with privacy film, so you can't see anything from the outside after closing the door. The reporter could only take pictures of the loneliness, watching helplessly as the driver put away his luggage and drove away. In the car, Chen Lian and Sophie Marceau kissed passionately for a long time before they separated. Chen Lian wiped the lipstick mark on the corner of Sophie Marceau's mouth and said, "Are you satisfied with the effect today?" "Very satisfied, thank you for your cooperation," Sophie Marceau said with a smile. Chen Lian originally didn't plan to come to pick up Sophie Marceau today, but Sophie Marceau specifically requested it, and Chen Lian came to cooperate with her in the hype. Sophie Marceau has been developing in Hollywood in the past 2 years, and her popularity in Paris has dropped. This time, Chen Lian came and naturally took the opportunity to make some noise. There is no need for Chen Lian to show his face anyway, and Chen Lian is happy to cooperate. Soon the car drove to Sophie Marceau's apartment. Chen Lian, wearing sunglasses, a mask, and a fisherman's hat, got out of the car and went straight upstairs with Sophie Marceau in his arms. The reporter standing guard outside was unable to take a photo of Chen Lian's face. Although it was a pity, such a photo was enough. Sometimes you can write more exciting news if you can't see your face clearly. After going upstairs, Chen Lian and Sophie Marceau immediately took off all disguises and faced each other in the freest and most natural state. Human beings are born naked. Why do we need to put on so many disguises when getting along with each other? Throw away clothes and everything else. However, the development of human civilization is restricted. In order to help Sophie Marceau grow better and become more beautiful and richer, Chen Lian tied her up with a special rope and tied her up again and again. Finally, she was restrained. Go to the hands behind your back and tie a beautiful knot. Chen Lian looked at his work and nodded with satisfaction. Do you know what this kind of knot is called? Chen Lian asked while pulling up Sophie Marceau's hair and putting it on the rope. Sophie Marceau twisted a little, and before she could answer, she heard Chen Lian say, "This type of bondage is called horse bondage, and it is inspired by humans' efforts to tame wild horses." "I'm not a horse." Sophie Marceau couldn't move and could only raise her head and said. Chen Lian raised his eyebrows and stood up and said, "Who says it's not? Foreign horses are also horses." Sophie Marceau, if you can, whip me. Come. Chen Lian will naturally fulfill Sophie Marceau's wish and cooperate with your hype without paying any price. After an unknown amount of time, Sophie Marceau and Chen Lian cuddled up on the bed, looking at the hook on the ceiling and resting in a daze. A piece of strong rope hangs under the hook, and the water stains on the floor below the rope sparkle in the light. In the next 2 days, except for going to the Musée d'Orsay to see the exhibition in the afternoon, Chen Lian basically spent time with Sophie Marceau. After a long separation, there was always a lot of knowledge to exchange. However, there are only 2 days left for the Paris exhibition, and Chen Lian has to pack up and go to London again. Sophie Marceau still had a job in Paris and could not accompany Chen Lian to London. When Chen Lian left, she kissed him for a long time and asked with some anxiety, "Do you think it will be successful?" Chen Lian thought for a moment and said, "I think so. After all, I have been in such good health so many times, so it makes no sense." Sophie Marceau smiled and said, "I'm looking forward to having a mixed-race baby." "Aren't you worried that it will affect your development?" Chen Lian asked curiously. Sophie Marceau shook her head, blinked her beautiful blue eyes and said, "I will take a year off next year. I will only have a chance next year." Since Sophie Marceau wanted to take a year's rest, Chen Lian didn't say anything. Anyway, now that she has more children, she doesn't have to worry about it. One can raise a bunch of them, and it's not like she can't afford to raise them if she earns more money. After bidding farewell to Sophie Marceau, Chen Lian flew directly to London with his team. London, Chen Lian is still looking forward to it. I don't know if he has any fans in London. Chen Lian still remembers the 2 British girls he met when he first attended the Venice Film Festival. At that time, they even tricked themselves into filming a gay-themed movie. They really couldn't do anything. When the plane landed in London, Chen Lian breathed in the bad air in London and felt that this trip to London might not be so peaceful. Fringe artists in the entertainment industry. Author, Chizu de Xiaomao. Chapter 349. Chapter 338-337. Black humor in London. London is a very interesting city, gentle but also rebellious. The rock music here is very good. Many rock bands that have influenced the world have appeared here, including the Beatles, Led Zeppelin, Rolling Stones, Suede, etc. On the first night after arriving in London, Chen Lian was dragged by Jifa to a bar hidden in an alley. Even Bai Qing, who was unwilling to go out, was not spared. However, Chen Lian did not forget the young people in the team. Although there were only 3 young people besides him and Bai Qing, it was still very lively sitting in the bar drinking. In the lively bar, the passionate singing of the rock band made the atmosphere in the bar very hot. Several people who came with Chen Lian were going abroad for the first time. Facing the frenetic atmosphere of such a strange environment, they were a little unable to adapt. Their bodies couldn't help shaking, but they didn't dare to end up shaking their heads with those people. Maybe it's because the bars in London are completely opposite to the romance in Paris, so they haven't been able to switch over for a while. Even Lu Tao was sitting next to Chen Lian, drinking and not daring to fool around. Looking at those rock singers with long hair and a group of drunkards wearing leather jackets and howling, he felt like he was in a gangster in an American movie. Chen Lian and Ji Fa were content, drinking beer to the beat, and liked the atmosphere here very much. Bai Qing just held his chin and looked at the group of energetic people, taking a sip of wine from time to time without knowing what he was thinking. Chen Lian was leaning on the chair and looking carefully at a bald man wearing a leather jacket not far away. This guy looked really like Mr. Guoda. Seemingly noticing Chen Lian's gaze, the man turned his head and glanced at Chen Lian, then raised the beer bottle in his hand to signal. Chen Lian also shook the beer bottle in his hand, and then withdrew his gaze. Isn't it just Jason Statham? What's all the fuss about? If it were Naomi Watts, Chen Lian would take the initiative to get to know her. Chen Lian still remembers the scene of her standing on King Kong's hand in the movie. However, most British actresses go to Hollywood to develop their careers, and there are many local singers and bands. I don't know if it's because Chen Lian and others have oriental faces, but it has attracted a lot of people's attention. Perhaps it was because many posters promoting art exhibitions had appeared on the streets of London these days. Someone recognized Chen Lian and came over to have a few drinks with Chen Lian. Chen Lian didn't expect anyone to recognize him. He felt that he was quite popular in the UK. The internationally renowned artist truly deserves his reputation. London is also the world's art center. When an artist like Chen Lian holds an exhibition, it will indeed attract the attention of many art lovers. However, after having a few drinks with those people, they curiously asked Chen Lian if there were rumors of an affair with Sophie Marceau 2 days ago, why he came to England again, and whether he came to London to hunt for women. Judging from their gossipy and stupid looks, they didn't even know that Chen Lian was here to hold an art exhibition. Chen Lian took a sip of beer and felt that he was not an internationally renowned artist, but an internationally renowned scumbag. It's boring. It's really boring to be a bartender. When Chen Lian came out of the bar, he said to Ji Fa helplessly, "Did you not do enough publicity? The publicity you carried out was not as fast as my gossip." "Haha, you deserve this," Ji Fa smiled happily and deliberately said to Bai Qing, "He went to find Sophie Marceau again while you were away. Aren't you angry?" Bai Qing glanced at her and said, "I will also go to Sophie Marceau when he is here." Ji Fa nodded and said, "That's true. He is an out-and-out scumbag." Chen Lian was speechless. Why should he say it so bluntly? And Ji Fa, how could you, a blonde with blue eyes, have the nerve to say such things? When you hooked up with me and then wanted to hook up with Bo Qing, why didn't you say you were a scumbag? Just when Chen Lian was about to give Ji Fa a blow, the door of the bar was pushed open again, and Jason Statham walked out laughing with a man with short hair. When passing by Chen Lian, Jason Statham smiled and nodded at him, and then disappeared into the night with his friends. Chen Lian took one look and then withdrew his gaze. At this time, he no longer had any intention of arguing with Ji Fa, and led the people back to the hotel. "I have to set up the exhibition tomorrow, so I should go back and rest early." The exhibition location of the British station is set at the British Museum, known as the Museum of the World. Chen Lian can't help but laugh every time he hears someone say this. The Robbers Museum is more appropriately guarded. However, it was Chen Lian's own initiative to come to the British Museum. Who allowed it to be loaned out for exhibition? It is difficult to bring back those cultural relics that were stolen, but Chen Lian also wanted to take a look at the cultural relics that contain history. Although they were taken away, China's culture has not been interrupted, and some things cannot be taken away. If those cultural relics had souls, they would feel relieved when they saw them, just like ancestors seeing that their descendants are already living well. The exhibition hall of the British Museum for Foreign Exhibitions is very good, with a strong cultural atmosphere, perhaps because it has been influenced by witnessing too many artworks. A lot of thought was put into planning the art exhibition in the UK. The layout of the exhibition hall was remodeled. It was all Chinese red and there were more exhibits than in Paris. The ministry also brought in a number of domestic cultural relics to support the scene, including those collected by museums from various places and some borrowed by Chen Lian from private collectors through personal relationships. The reason is not to be compared with the British Museum, but this is also difficult. In many things, the British Museum is indeed better than the domestic ones. Chen Lian has not been in a good mood during the past 2 days while setting up the exhibition, and so have most of his colleagues. Every time you walk around the museum, you will see many Chinese cultural relics on display. The British Museum didn't know which of the ribs was wrong, so it took out many of the cultural relics at the bottom of the box for display. Maybe he wanted to have a distant relationship with Chen Lian, or maybe he was arrogant and wanted to show off, but it was always exciting to watch. If it weren't for the smooth running of the art exhibition, Chen Lian would have wanted to pull up a banner at the entrance of the museum. The day before the exhibition, 2 staff members from the British Museum visited Chen Lian's exhibition hall and commented that several cultural relics brought by Chen Lian were not as good as theirs. "Is that yours?" Chen Lian asked impatiently, standing behind them. The 2 staff members turned back to look at Chen Lian, and then said seriously, "Of course, we have been collecting them for decades." Chen Lian looked at them and said, "What you robbed doesn't mean it belongs to you. If what you robbed belongs to you, then robbing the bank is not illegal." After Chen Lian finished speaking, he turned around and left. There was no reason to argue with the robbers. Even if they quarreled, it would be of no use. Out of sight, out of mind. Daying's behavior is like a black man's $0 purchase, and he is confident and does not feel that he is wrong at all. Chen Lian came out of the museum irritably. He was very helpless when his personal emotions were involved in this kind of thing. But Chen Lian won't be so patient. If he can't get his things back, it doesn't mean he has to admit its legality. Anyway, he will be scolded. Although the British Museum doesn't care at all, don't you get scolded every year? You've long been used to it. Their skin is thicker than the stone that wraps the sword in the stone, and they will pretend they can't see or hear. The street scenery in London is also good, but Chen Lian is not in the mood to appreciate it and wanders aimlessly. When he walked to an unfamiliar back alley, Chen Lian saw someone setting up a stall. After taking a closer look, he felt something familiar. Chen Lian suppressed his curiosity, walked over and looked at the things on the stall, picked up a record and asked, "How much does this cost?" £5, this is the hardcover edition, Jason Statham said with a laugh. Chen Lian took out £5 and handed it to him and asked curiously, "Do you set up a stall here every day?" Jason Statham put the money in his pocket and shrugged, "No, once a month, setting up a stall will bring me good luck." "Can setting up a stall also bring good luck?" Chen Lian became more curious and asked about his story with a smile. Jason Statham remembered meeting Chen Lian in a bar, so he told his story very talkatively. A former diver who only scored 0.5 points out of 10 because he was too nervous to fish. Then he retired and worked as a model, the kind who danced wearing only his underpants. In addition to being a model, he also worked as a stall owner and was selected by a director to film a movie. However, it has been 2 years since the filming was completed and it has not yet been released. "Although the movie hasn't been released, I think setting up a stall will bring me good luck," Jason Statham said with a smile. Chen Lian asked curiously, "What kind of movie was made? Why can't it be released?" Jason Statham touched his thinning hair and said, "The director has no money. The investors only gave him 1 million, which has been used up long ago." Chen Lian, what the hell is the reason? Is this investor stupid? I've given you 1 million, so why don't you add a little more? Otherwise, wouldn't this 1 million be wasted? Faced with Chen Lian's doubts, Jason Statham explained helplessly, the investor is a woman, and all her money belongs to her boyfriend. Well, it turns out the investors have no money either. Chen Lian thought it was quite funny, but something suddenly occurred to his mind. Jason Statham's screen debut seemed to be Guy Ritchie's Two Smoking Guns. It's a very enjoyable movie, with multi-line narrative and black humor. More than a dozen people died and cursed more than 100 times, and the montage was superb. Ning Hao just imitated others and made a crazy stone, but there is still a slight difference between the two movies. Chen Lian remembers that when he first watched Guy Ritchie's movie, he regarded him as the next Quentin Tarantino. Unfortunately, Guy Ritchie's talents were very limited and he only glorified for a short time before disappearing from everyone. Guy Ritchie later went to rap and set up his own label, but he also made several box office hits, including the Sherlock Holmes series. It's just that those movies didn't have the aura and amazement that they had at the beginning. Thinking of this, Chen Lian looked at Jason Statham and asked, "Do you know who I am?" Jason Statham nodded and said, "I know, I've read the news in the newspaper. I can invest in your movie if you want." Jason Statham only has one thought in his mind right now, "Mom, I met a fool." No, where's the director? Find a director. The rich boss is here. At around 3 o'clock in the afternoon, Chen Lian met Guy Ritchie in Jason Statham's small apartment. Chen Lian was surprised when he saw him. Wasn't this the man who drank with Jason Statham that night? Chen Lian watched Guy Ritchie stretch out his hand to introduce himself, and then expressed his willingness to invest. Guy Ritchie held a cold beer in his hand. After a while, he looked at Chen Lian and asked, "You haven't read my script or film, and you don't know me. Why should you invest in me?" Chen Lian turned his head and thought for a moment and said, "Maybe it's because I'm in a bad mood today that I want to spend money." Guy Ritchie, if I hadn't known you were rich, I would have thought you were a liar. Of course what Chen Lian said was false. He just remembered that the box office of this movie seemed to be very good, more than £20 million. Although Chen Lian's reasons were very nonsensical and lame, Guy Ritchie did not refuse to invest. The movie that was completed in 1995 has never been released, and he was worried to death. "I finally had the opportunity to join the film industry, but I had to wait for 2 years because I had no money." Speaking of which, this movie is also full of twists and turns. The investor is a singer's girlfriend and doesn't have that much money. Guy Ritchie has been trying to raise money in the past 2 years. He finally completed the post-production, but there was no way to distribute it. In the end, he went to Tokyo Film. It only has the chance to be released after winning several awards. Guy Ritchie is very similar to some domestic directors who rose to prominence by winning awards at film festivals. The film is still short of money and needs at least several £100,000 to complete. Chen Lian doesn't care about hundreds of thousands of pounds, he will earn it back in the future anyway, but Chen Lian still has a small request. Chen Lian flipped through the script in his hand, pondered for a moment and said, "The script is very good and worth investing in, but I still have a small opinion." Guy Ritchie looked at Chen Lian nervously, fearing that he would make any excessive demands. He only met Jason Statham twice and decided to invest without reading the script. He must be interested in Jason Statham. Guy Ritchie turned his head and glanced at Jason Statham's muscles, feeling that this possibility was very high. Chen Lian didn't notice Guy Ritchie's expression, and said seriously, "Change the Brotheby's auction house that collects 2 large smoking guns in the movie into the British Museum. The shotguns belong to the British Museum." Guy Ritchie didn't understand what Chen Lian meant at first, but he soon realized that he originally used the Brotheby's auction house to mock Sotheby's in the movie. Chen Lian, this is good, it directly satirizes the British Museum. Guy Ritchie felt a little reluctant. As a British man, he had always known that the British Museum was a museum for the people. Chen Lian threw the script in his hand on the ground and said, "After you finish revising it, I can help you participate in the Tokyo International Film Festival and help you win at least 2 awards." Guy Ritchie's eyes suddenly lit up. To put it bluntly, being a director is all about fame and fortune. Now that Chen Lian has both fame and fortune, it's no big deal to make fun of the British Museum. Done. Fringe artists in the entertainment industry. Author, Chizuda Xiaomao. Chapter 350. Chapter 339-338. A hypocritical gentleman is a hooligan. Life is always full of surprises. Chen Lian never expected that he would meet Jason Statham when he went out to relax, let alone become an investor in Guy Ritchie. But it's nice to use Guy Ritchie's film to satirize the British Museum. When Two Smoking Barrels was released, it was the 3rd highest grossing film in British history. It's quite cool to satirize the British Museum in such a high-grossing movie, and Chen Lian was happy to invest £800,000 in Guy Ritchie. It's just that investment is not just about talking about it, it also requires signing a formal contract. Chen Lian looked at the excited Guy Ritchie and Jason Statham and said, "There is no time today. A lawyer will come to sign the contract with you tomorrow." "No problem." "What time will it be tomorrow?" Guy Ritchie asked directly, fearing that Chen Lian would regret it the next second. Chen Lian looked at Guy Ritchie's anxious look and said, "Give me your contact information at 8 o'clock tomorrow morning." Guy Ritchie immediately took out a business card from his pocket and handed it to Chen Lian. As a professional MV director, he naturally has a business card. Chen Lian took it and put it in his pocket after taking a look at it. He also gave Guy Ritchie his business card. Looking at Jason Statham standing aside, Chen Lian also handed over his business card. Jason Statham didn't have a business card, so he was a little embarrassed and found a piece of paper to write down his contact information and handed it to Chen Lian. Jason Statham is doing very poorly now. He hasn't made his official debut yet. He usually works as a model doing odd jobs, and his life is very tight. The reason why I became the star of Two Smoking Barrels was because Guy Ritchie bumped into him setting up a stall when he was wandering around. I thought it was suitable for my script, so I cast him to star in it. But the main reason was that Guy Ritchie didn't have the money to hire big-name stars at the time, otherwise who would use a second-rate dealer setting up a roadside stall? It's quite interesting to mention that Jason Statham also plays a second-rate dealer in the movie, but he actually plays his true character. 3 men were drinking beer and chatting in the small apartment. Jason Statham suddenly said with a smile, "I have decided to set up a stall every week from now on. This is my transit ritual." Both Chen Lian and Guy Ritchie laughed out loud. He was indeed destined to set up a stall. One time he met Guy Ritchie, he became a movie actor, and another time he met Chen Lian, he attracted investment for the movie. Chen Lian originally thought that Jason Statham was a tough guy with few words, but now that he got familiar with him, he found that he was quite tight-lipped and had the same cold humor as Guy Ritchie. However, many British people have this kind of dry humor. They often use self-deprecating dry humor to show their generosity and tolerance. British humor. Chen Lian and Guy Ritchie were listening to rock music and chatting about London's street culture. Before they knew it, it was getting dark outside. Just when the 3 of them were about to find a bar to have some fun, Chen Lian's phone rang. Seeing that the caller number was Jifa, Chen Lian felt that there was no chance for Guy Ritchie and the others to experience the graceful dancing of the gypsy girl tonight. After answering the phone and hearing what Jifa had said, Chen Lian sighed helplessly and hung up the phone. "Goodbye, pretty gypsy girl, I'll give you money next time." "I'm sorry, I have urgent matters to deal with, so I can't go with you tonight." Jason Statham unfortunately patted Chen Lian on the shoulder and said, "Then go next time. You really should see the gypsy girl's striptease." Chen Lian also felt that it was a pity. Guy Ritchie and Jason Statham just portrayed it so well. Tonight there will be a performance by Britain's hottest butt-shaking dance queen. But you can watch the dance anytime. Jifa said that a collector invited him to a dinner party. It would be bad to refuse, and he still had to give Jifa a face. After Chen Lian, Guy Ritchie, and the others said goodbye, they went downstairs. As soon as they got downstairs, Jifa's car stopped right in front of the apartment. Jifa rolled down the window and took a look at Chen Lian and the others, and said hello to Jason Statham and Guy Ritchie. After Chen Lian got in the car, Jifa asked curiously, "Is this your new friend? I thought you would only be friends with beautiful women. You should have seen them before." "I met them in the bar that night." Chen Lian ignored Jifa's teasing and said seriously, "One of them is a director and the other is an actor. I just decided to invest in a movie of theirs. Please help me arrange a lawyer tomorrow. Come to them and sign a contract." Invest in a movie? Jifa was surprised that Chen Lian would invest in a movie by someone he just met, and couldn't help but remind him, "Be careful, they are liars." Chen Lian smiled and said, "No, they have finished filming the movie, but they just don't have the money for post-production." "Okay, whatever you want." Jifa asked casually while driving his car, "How much money did you invest?" £800,000, but I think I can earn back £5 million, Chen Lian said mysteriously. Jifa turned her head and glanced at him, feeling that Chen Lian must have been deceived. However, if it was only £700,000, she was not prepared to stop him. It would be nice to let him suffer a loss. It was too easy to trust people. Jifa has always felt that Chen Lian's special idealism makes it easy to trust others, although he refuses to admit it and insists that he has 80 ideas. Let him be deceived severely this time. It is better than being deceived by women in the future. Women are not only good at defrauding money, but also defrauding feelings and body. Soon Jifa drove to the hotel, took Chen Lian to change into a high-end suit, and then set off to the real destination tonight. Looking at a manor in the suburbs of London, Chen Lian felt eerie when looking at the old castle. It was far less beautiful than the domestic garden manors. Jifa in the car said to Chen Lian, "This is the manor of a baron, and he is also a collector, but it is his son who invites you tonight. He is very interested in your works and has seen the exhibition in Paris before." "Then why does he want to see me?" Chen Lian said strangely. "You don't just want to get to know me, do you?" "Otherwise," Jifa shrugged, opened the door and got out of the car, and Chen Lian quickly followed. Maybe it was because he and Guy Ritchie had experienced London street culture in the afternoon, but Chen Lian was still not used to the aristocratic dinner in the evening. The etiquette was cumbersome and boring. Baron Buster is already over 70 this year, but he looks very energetic and talks very interestingly and relaxedly, but he can't let go of his aristocratic posture. His son was doing better. Chen Lian chatted with him quite happily. After dinner, Chen Lian chatted with him alone in the cigar room, and he also revealed his purpose of finding Chen Lian. "When I was young, I collected a vase from your country. It was very beautiful, but it had some flaws. It was really a pity. The last time I saw your art exhibition in Paris, there was a vase exactly like it, so I thought collect." "Identical bottles?" Chen Lian was a little surprised, but thinking that Master Wang made bottles according to the styles passed down long ago, it was not surprising. So he flicked his cigar and said, "Sorry, I have no idea of selling it at the moment." "I know, that's why I came to you alone," Buster said with a smile. "That vase is very important to me. I hope you can sell it to me after your art exhibition is over. I can give you £100,000. Chen Lian paused while smoking his cigar. He felt that something was wrong with the old man. The bottle was beautiful, but it was definitely not worth £100,000. A new thing was not an old thing, so how could it be worth that price? But the specific reason is hard to say. Chen Lian looked at him in silence for a while and then said, "That bottle doesn't belong to me. I need to seek the opinion of its owner." Buster smiled and said, "No problem. In fact, I would like to meet the bottle master. I am obsessed with Chinese porcelain. I hope I can invite you to dinner next time." After Chen Lian left the manor in the evening, he immediately talked about this matter with Ji Fa. He felt that it was very strange. After hearing what Chen Lian said, Ji Fa immediately understood and said with a smile, he probably wants to find a replica and sell it at a high price. Someone must have taken a fancy to his antique bottle, but his purpose is definitely not the bottle, but the person who made the bottle. How could there be an identical bottle? Chen Lian twitched the corner of his mouth and said, he doesn't want to mass produce and deceive people, right? Not many people in Europe are willing to collect porcelain. Chen Lian suddenly understood when he was halfway through talking. It couldn't be an Asian collector who took a fancy to his bottle. If this is the case, then Chen Lian will not help him. He can't cheat his own people. At this time, collectors in Southeast Asia and Japan definitely have no money, and there is a high probability that Chinese collectors are interested in it. This little old man was playing really dirty. The bottle in his hand was probably snatched from him before. Chen Lian felt extremely sick, as if he had seen Chinese cultural relics stolen from the British Museum auction. What kind of bullshit aristocratic gentleman, a hypocritical gentleman is worse than a gangster on the street. Chen Lian turned to look at Ji Fa and asked, can you inquire about the specific situation? Okay, but I don't recommend you get involved. You can ask me first. Chen Lian looked at the beautiful night view of London outside the car window and couldn't help but sigh in his heart. I don't know how much of this bustling night view was paid for by compensation. When the car arrived downstairs at the hotel, Chen Lian suddenly said, please arrange some interviews for me, not with the British media. What do you want to do? Ji Fa asked with some vigilance. Chen Lian raised his eyebrows and said, I want to curse. Ji Fa, then just think about it. Ji Fa did not arrange an interview for Chen Lian after all, but when the art exhibition was launched, something went wrong. The British Museum seems to have done it on purpose. When Chen Lian started the exhibition, it also held an exhibition of Chinese cultural relics and put many Chinese cultural relics in the museum on display. The cultural relics that had been collecting dust in the safe finally had a chance to show up. A lot of people came to visit for this reason. Although it also boosted the popularity of Chen Lian's art exhibition, it was really disgusting. Chen Lian was also visiting those cultural relics, and he felt really uncomfortable. He didn't dare to let Master Wang and the others come over to see them, for fear that these old men and women couldn't stand the excitement. The exhibits in the British Museum are much better than those over there. They are ancient, mysterious, and beautiful. Of course, the British Museum has tens of thousands of collections from China, and their Palace Museum doesn't have as many as ours. Listening to these words in the British Museum, Chen Lian was also stimulated and turned to look at the place where the sound came from. Chen Lian walked over and looked at them and said, where did these cultural relics come from? They were originally supposed to be in our Palace Museum, why do they appear here? The tourists who were chatting happily turned around when they heard the sudden sound behind them. When they turned around, Chen Lian saw clearly that these people seemed to be reporters. When these reporters saw that the speaker was Chen Lian, they immediately became interested and immediately asked, hello, don't you think these cultural relics are better than your works? There is no doubt about this. They are all treasures of Chinese culture. They have experienced the influence of history. Each cultural relic has its own story. After Chen Lian answered this question, he looked at the reporter who asked the question and asked, can you tell me why these cultural relics appear here? The reporter choked at Chen Lian's words and said nonchalantly, you should ask the museum staff about this. I think they were all donated. Chen Lian sneered, looked at the reporters and said, donation? Haven't you studied history? Even if you haven't studied history, can't you even tell the difference between plunder and donation? The reporter didn't care about Chen Lian's attitude, but asked with a bright eye, "Are you questioning whether the cultural relics in the British Museum were looted?" "It's not a question, it's a fact." After Chen Lian said that, he turned around and left, not caring whether the reporters would report what he said. The reporters were actually not surprised. No one pointed to the British Museum. Every year, many countries ask the British Museum for their own cultural relics. It's just that Chen Lian is still running it in the British Museum. Isn't it bad if you just slap someone in the face like this? Aren't you worried that your exhibition won't go ahead? Chen Lian actually wished that he was stopped in the middle of the process. That would be more interesting. Then he would stand up and pretend to be miserable and call on those countries that looted cultural relics to speak out together. Even if I don't come back, I have to tear off the British Museum's veil of hypocrisy. Shameless thing. This is one of the reasons why Chen Lian chose to hold an exhibition at the British Museum, and also why he deliberately expressed his position in front of reporters. I hope these reporters can publish their remarks soon, while they still have some fame and popularity, and hope that they can have a little condemning effect. Everyone in the world knows this very well. Even many British people will ridicule themselves and mock the British Museum as a robber. Chen Lian still remembers that the British Museum was stolen later. British netizens mocked themselves and said that when a robber encounters a thief, he must do his best to recover it. Swag. In fact, most of the time, ordinary people are cute and have their own sense of right and wrong. It's just that these voices are too weak. Chen Lian now wants to make the noise louder so that these voices can gather together. It's so embarrassing to see the British Museum and say every day that it is the museum of the world. This world has been stolen. Why are you so embarrassed to talk about it? You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Fringe artists in the entertainment industry. Author, Chizu de Xiaomao. Chapter 351. Chapter 340-339. Tear off the gentleman's mask. On the streets of London in the early morning, only the street lights were working hard, and the quiet streets were empty. A man wearing a backpack and a hood suddenly appeared in the square in front of the British Museum. The man took out a bottle from his wide pocket, shook it a few times, and pressed the nozzle against the floor of the square. Red paint suddenly sprayed on the ground, and after a while the man changed the color again and continued. Under the dim light, one could vaguely see that the face under the hood was Chen Lian. Chen Lian concentrated on graffiti on the ground. This was his first time graffiti. He had studied it for several days before, and now he was very good at it. More than an hour later, Chen Lian put away the paint bottles and looked at the patterns on the ground with great satisfaction. But this is not over yet. How could Chen Lian, who was bursting with inspiration during the long night, stop here? Chen Lian walked in the other direction with a pocket full of paint. The colors in London are too monotonous. Let's paint them all tonight. As time passed, the sky gradually became brighter, the sun slowly rose, and the empty streets gradually became more popular. Chen Lian had just returned to the hotel tiredly. As soon as he closed his eyes on the soft big bed, he fell on it and fell asleep. At this time, there was an exclamation in front of the square of the British Museum, which attracted the attention of many people. A painting suddenly appeared on the ground that was empty yesterday. A soldier wearing a Royal Army uniform from decades ago had a ferocious face. He was cutting a mural with a musket in one hand and a huge chisel in the other. On top of the mural, the flying goddess has no sense of elegance and mystery. She only has an exaggerated expression and sheds blood and tears as if she is protesting against what the bandits have done. There are several graffiti next to this graffiti. They are either thieves dressed as gentlemen or robbers looking like soldiers. Without exception, these looters are stealing cultural relics from all over the world. Statues from Greek temples, Egyptian mummies, Dunhuang murals, cultural relics from the old summer palace, etc. People around were watching, and it soon attracted the attention of the British Museum. They immediately sent people over to check. After seeing the graffiti on the ground, they immediately felt bad and wanted to disperse the crowd immediately. It's a pity that no one paid attention to them. There were still people with phones telling reporters the news, or tourists with cameras taking pictures. The entrance to the British Museum was extremely busy at this time, but similar graffiti was soon discovered in other places. The inconspicuous peripheral walls of the British Museum were covered with exaggerated graffiti. When the news spread, the spectators immediately became excited and ran over to watch. The graffiti on the square was so ironic, but the painting was so good. At this time, everyone was curious about the paintings in other places, and even started to actively search if there were other places with similar graffiti. You wouldn't know if you didn't look for it, but you'd be surprised if you looked for it. Soon, someone found many small graffiti on the walls and corners of the British Museum's outer walls. They were all masked robbers carrying huge burdens and laughing wildly. Behind these robbers were scattered many cultural relics and bones on the ground. But these are just accusations. The most ironic graffiti is on a blank wall. It is large and extremely ironic. A group of gentlemen in black dresses welcomed the owners of the cultural relics in a huge museum. There was a very eye-catching sentence under this graffiti. As a gentleman, we are just protecting these cultural relics for you, don't even think about going back. The British Museum has fallen, and is surrounded by dense graffiti, large and small. After hearing the news, more and more people are coming over, including local Londoners and foreign tourists, and many reporters are excitedly taking pictures everywhere. Among the crowded crowds, there were many uniformed police officers who were maintaining order and isolating the visitors. They wanted to protect the scene and see if they could find any clues about criminals. The instigator of all this had just gotten up at this time. Chen Lian got dressed and checked again before preparing to leave for the British Museum. As soon as Chen Lian opened the door, he saw Jifa walking over aggressively. When Chen Lian opened the door, he immediately pushed him in. Jifa also came in immediately, pushed Chen Lian to the wall and asked seriously, "Did you do it?" Just as Chen Lian was about to speak, he heard Jifa say, "Needless to say, it was you who did it. The smell of paint on your body hasn't dissipated yet." Chen Lian lowered his head and smelled it, and it seemed that it did have a little smell. It seemed that he would need to prepare a few more sets of clothes and perfume in the future. Jifa looked at Chen Lian and said angrily, "What on earth are you going to do? If someone finds out that you did it, you will be finished." Chen Lian shrugged his shoulders and said, "No one will find out, otherwise the police will come to me at this time." Jifa was very angry, but had nothing to do with Chen Lian, so he had to warn him not to do these things again. Seeing Jifa's angry look, Chen Lian smiled and agreed. It was difficult for Jifa to understand his mood, so he would not force Jifa to help him. However, Chen Lian will not stop what he has to do. Where is this? He will stay in London for 7 days. Chen Lian is ready to stay up late during these 7 days. Chen Lian is an artist who represents China to promote traditional culture, so he cannot do too many outrageous things, but an artist who masks his face at night will not have these concerns. When should I sleep? It's not less than these days. Chen Lian was anti-war and would not do anything extreme. Moreover, it was all the fault of the Qing dynasty and he could not do anything to fix it. But that doesn't mean that's correct. You might as well have stolen something and kept it secretly, but showing it off is really shameless. Chen Lian doesn't have guns, and he doesn't know how to shout and kill, but he does have a paintbrush. This is the artist's weapon. Let you show off, let you brag that you are a gentleman. At around 9 o'clock, Chen Lian and his party came out of the hotel, but Jifa was obviously nervous for fear that in the next second someone would point at Chen Lian and shout that he was the vandal who graffitied. Chen Lian looked at the nervous Ji Fa, patted her shoulder and whispered, "Only we know about this matter. No one will know if you don't report it to me." Ji Fa glared at Chen Lian angrily, she would rather not know. Bai Qing glanced at the two of them strangely. She didn't know what the two were plotting, but she found out when she came to the museum. Bo Qing walked up to Chen Lian angrily and pinched him hard, but he didn't say anything for fear that someone would hear him. Chen Lian knew that Bai Qing blamed himself for not taking her with him, but it was really hard to take her with him for such a thing. The British Museum was very busy at this time, and even normal visits were affected. Someone in the museum proposed to close the museum for one day, but the curator rejected it. Closing the museum at this time has a greater impact, and the media doesn't know how it will be reported. The more times like this, the more you need to show your grace. Chen Lian's exhibition was not affected. He just looked outside for a while and then took people to the exhibition hall. Along the way, everyone in the team was discussing who did it. What a humming beautiful job. It's so refreshing. I saw the cultural relics that were taken away yesterday and I wanted to take them back. The British Museum is so shameless that it has the nerve to put those cultural relics on display. Chen Lian couldn't help but curl up his lips after listening to their words. However, almost no one came to the exhibition hall today. They were all playing a treasure hunt outside to see what other graffiti the mysterious artist had not yet discovered. After Chen Lian stayed in his exhibition hall for a while, he sneaked to the bathroom alone, changed his clothes and disappeared into the exhibition hall. In the exhibition hall of the British Museum, Chen Lian took out the brush he had prepared in advance, pretended to appreciate the painting in front of him, and then quietly drew graffiti on the bottom of the painting. Chen Lian added his own creations under several world-famous paintings, and then disappeared into the museum. I don't know when these tampered paintings will be discovered. Not many people visited them today, so it will probably take many days before they are discovered. In Chen Lian's exhibition hall, Ji Fa looked around and found that Chen Lian had disappeared for a while, and he suddenly became nervous. Just as he was about to look for Chen Lian, he saw him coming out from the direction of the bathroom. Ji Fa breathed a sigh of relief in her heart. She was really worried that Chen Lian would go out and cause trouble again. Chen Lian looked at Ji Fa and smiled, then he stood in the exhibition hall obediently and did not leave. He even asked Ji Fa like a normal person if he had arranged the film investment for him. Ji Fa glared at Chen Lian angrily and said, "You are still in the mood to care about film investment, so aren't you worried about being caught?" "What's there to worry about? I just want to catch Sherlock Holmes," Chen Lian said with a smile. Ji Fa, you are so confident. Some people will definitely doubt you. You just said yesterday that all the cultural relics in the British Museum were stolen. Today there are so many graffiti outside, even a fool will doubt you. Chen Lian said with a smile, "There must be evidence. I slept in the hotel last night and didn't go out all night. What if it's caught on surveillance?" Ji Fa couldn't help but worry. Chen Lian said confidently, "Hiding from surveillance and disguised, there will be no evidence left." Chen Lian and Ji Fa were chatting in the exhibition hall, but there was already a commotion outside. Almost all the media in London were here, reporting on the mysterious graffiti that suddenly appeared. The influence of the British Museum is too great, and no media would miss this news. Even journalists from many other countries stationed in London are reporting on this incident. In just one morning, almost everyone around the world knew about this incident. The British Museum was destroyed by a mysterious artist. Who wouldn't be curious? For a time, the British Museum was pushed to the peak of public opinion, and several countries that responded quickly asked the British Museum to return the cultural relics they had stolen. The fastest was Greece, which publicly criticized the British Museum that afternoon and asked them to return the stolen cultural relics. When Chen Lian was about to call it a day and return to the hotel in the evening, he heard that 4 or 5 countries had taken the opportunity to accuse the British Museum of being a robber. In addition to the fact that the museum was his own, all the cultural relics in it were stolen, and they were required to return them to their home countries. Cultural relics. When Chen Lian learned the news, he couldn't help but smacked his lips, feeling that it was a bit unsatisfying. When leaving the British Museum, Ji Fa kept holding Chen Lian's hand to prevent him from leaving her sight, for fear that he would cause trouble again at night. Ji Fa warned sternly, "You are not allowed to go anymore, do you hear me? There will definitely be people watching today, maybe waiting for you to go." Chen Lian nodded, but he felt in his heart that there would be no people squatting on the street tonight. After all, it was hard to imagine that the mysterious artist would fight back. After returning to the hotel, before Chen Lian could be taught by Ji Fa, Bo Qing came over and looked at Chen Lian and asked, "Why don't you take me with you?" Ji Fa originally thought that Bo Qing was here to educate Chen Lian, but unexpectedly he came to ask Chen Lian why he didn't take her with him. Neither of these two people are fuel efficient. Chen Lian didn't have time to explain to Bo Qing at this time, so he excitedly turned on the TV and prepared to watch the news. Bai Qing came over and grabbed the remote control, ignoring Ji Fa's warning, and strongly asked Chen Lian to take him with him tonight. "What? Are you going tonight?" Ji Fa shouted immediately, wanting to rush over to tie up Chen Lian and Bai Qing and throw them into the bathroom. Chen Lian immediately said, "No way, I will rest in the hotel tonight and not go anywhere." Bo Qing glanced at Chen Lian and curled his lips imperceptibly, but did not continue to say anything in front of Ji Fa. When Ji Fa saw Chen Lian promise not to go out tonight, he breathed a sigh of relief, then sat on the sofa holding a pillow, preparing to stare at Chen Lian all night. When Chen Lian saw Ji Fa's attitude, he couldn't help but twitch his lips, secretly glared at Bai Qing, and complained that she had affected his plan. Bo Qing looked at the ceiling awkwardly, pretending not to see Chen Lian's expression. At this time, the sound of news also came from the TV, reporting exactly what happened today. The host of the TV show righteously accused the mysterious artist of his behavior, saying that it had damaged the image of the museum and had a very bad impact. Chen Lian snorted and said, "You can't explain what you're doing? Hypocrisy." After saying that, Chen Lian stood up and called the hotel front desk and asked them to deliver wine and midnight snacks. Chen Lian hung up the phone, stretched and looked at Ji Fa and said, "Drink some wine to celebrate? I'm so happy today." Ji Fa snorted angrily, wondering if he had become addicted to this kind of thing after the last bombing of Tokyo. But what Chen Lian did is indeed worthy of celebration, so drink some. While drinking, Ji Fa felt that he had drunk too much. He held the wine glass and muttered, Why don't you drink, come. Cheers." Boom. Ji Fa fell down on the sofa and fell into a deep sleep. Chen Lian and Bai Qing immediately looked at each other, with excited smiles on their faces. But before Bo Qing could stand up, Chen Lian held her down and said, "Don't follow me and join in the fun. It's easy for others to find you with me. Don't cause trouble for me. I will never hold you back. If you can do it, why can't I?" Bo Qing said unconvinced. Chen Lian snorted and said, "We have practiced. In ancient times, they were also heroes who robbed the rich and gave to the poor. What can you do?" "No, I want to go too, I." Before Bai Qing could finish his words, Chen Lian held him down 3 times and tied him up. Chen Lian patted Bo Qing's butt and said, "Just wait here for me to come back." Chen Lian. Bai Qing was furious, but he could only watch Chen Lian put on his clothes and sneak out. After a while, Ji Fa suddenly woke up, walked up to Bai Qing and pinched her face. Bo Qing was stunned immediately, looked at Ji Fa with clear eyes and asked, "Are you not drunk?" Ji Fa put her hand on Bai Qing's body and said with a smile, "Have you forgotten that I own a winery?" Bai Qing. Danger. He was tied up, and there was a woman beside him who had been coveting for a long time. What should he do now? "Damn Chen Lian, come back quickly." Chen Lian couldn't go back for a while. At this moment, he was excitedly holding a paint bottle in his hands and spraying it against the wall. Let you pretend. Let me show you some colors today. Please give me your monthly vote. Dear adoptive fathers, please vote if you have one. I have almost recovered in the past 2 days. I am back to normal at 8,000 words a day. I will try my best to write more next week. Fringe artists in the entertainment industry. Author, Chizu de Xiaomao. Chapter 352. Chapter 341-340. Conflict is coming, London becomes Gotham. In the quiet streets, Chen Lian was walking through the streets dressed in black and carrying a backpack. After a while, he came to a dark alley and changed back into his clothes. Chen Lian walked out of the alley and smelled his fingers, which still smelled like paint. Chen Lian took out a cigar from his pocket, lit it, and walked towards another neighborhood with his hands in his hands. Not long after, Chen Lian pushed open the door of a bar with a cigar in his mouth. He looked around the bar and couldn't help but raise his eyebrows. The pole dancing performance was very exciting. Chen Lian looked at it for a few times before looking away and walked towards the booth inside the bar. Hey! You're finally here. Guy Ritchie stood up from the sofa and waved to Chen Lian. He received Chen Lian's investment today, and gave it all in one lump sum of 800,000 yuan. Now that I have money in my pocket, I don't feel anxious. Jason Statham, who was sitting next to him while drinking beer, also raised his glass to Chen Lian. Chen Lian walked over and glanced at a few women sitting in the booth. He couldn't help but raise his eyebrows. The quality was too poor. Haha, you're finally here, let's change to the private room inside. Guy Ritchie happily put his arm around Chen Lian's shoulders and said. Chen Lian nodded and said, okay, I hope it will be better inside. Of course I will never let you down. It is indeed much better in the high-end box. For one-on-one pole dancing, the quality of the dancers has also skyrocketed. Chen Lian crossed his legs and smoked a cigar. He looked with interest at the girl dancing on the table in front of him. She danced really well. She was white, big and long, especially when she turned her back to Chen Lian and trembled. Guy Ritchie came over and said, how about it, isn't it great? Chen Lian nodded, it is indeed great, capitalist countries really know how to enjoy it. Guy Ritchie smiled. He originally planned to ask if the matter at the British Museum this morning was related to Chen Lian, but after receiving Chen Lian's 800,000 yuan in the afternoon, he didn't want to ask anything. How can I make the sponsor's father feel uncomfortable? Chen Lian smoked a cigar and didn't care whether Guy Ritchie would guess that he did it. There was no evidence anyway, so who would believe it? So what if you believe it? Again, you have no evidence, but Chen Lian has money. In the dark private room, with the violent music, flashing lights, and graceful figures, tonight is destined to be an extraordinary night. It was around 4 o'clock in the morning when Chen Lian returned to the hotel. After opening the door and going in, he took a quick look and found that both Jifa and Bai Qing were asleep, so he went to take a shower alone and lay on the sofa to catch up on his sleep. I am really tired tonight and have used up too much energy. After an unknown amount of time, Chen Lian felt someone kicking him, opened his eyes suddenly and sat up. As soon as he opened his eyes, he saw Bai Qing kicking him with a black face. Chen Lian thought she was angry with him for not taking her with him yesterday, so he turned over with a grunt and went back to sleep. Seeing Chen Lian like this, Bai Qing couldn't even express his anger. Last night, he was almost succeeded by that bad woman Jifa. Chen Lian slept for a while and then was woken up. He had to go to the exhibition hall today. Although there were not many people visiting, he had to go. After arriving at the British Museum at around 9 o'clock, more people gathered here because there was a lot more graffiti yesterday, and it was also in the form of 4-frame comics. The cultural relics in the comics have all come to life and are shouting in protest and trying to escape from the British Museum. Each cultural relic is shackled, and the anthropomorphic eyes are full of anger. Many people did not expect that this mysterious artist would come out to cause trouble again, just like no one would have expected that someone would rob the same bank 2 days in a row. Perhaps because of Chen Lian's lawless sarcasm and protests, this matter has become completely popular. Yesterday, several countries issued protests, and today more countries issued protests. Those countries are not fools. It is not easy for someone to arouse international public opinion. They must seize the opportunity. Driven by many people's intentions, this incident became more and more intense. At the entrance of the museum, Chen Lian saw reporters and media from many countries reporting on this incident. Chen Lian couldn't help but clicked his tongue, and he was looking forward to the future development of the matter, but it was not enough now. Chen Lian felt that the fuss should be louder and the public criticism should be stronger. In this case, the British Museum might be able to bow its head and return some cultural relics. Chen Lian stayed in the exhibition hall all morning, and took the time to go to the museum to check the oil paintings he had modified yesterday. When he found that they had not been discovered by the museum staff, he couldn't help laughing. After wandering around the museum, Chen Lian left. Go find a few human rights organizations that like to make trouble and see if they can organize a march and protest. It would be great if black people can participate. Chen Lian thought about it for a while and felt that he had a lot of inspiration. Tonight, let's draw a picture of the good things that gentlemen did in Africa. Robbery of cultural relics and the sale of black slaves are essentially the same. They are both plunder. I hope these black people can empathize. The only pity is that Europe and the United States are not so particular about political correctness now, otherwise there really could be a wave of public opinion war behind the scenes. Sci. Speaking of which, Chen Lian's capital is not strong, otherwise he would really be able to use political correctness to cause trouble and push public opinion behind his back to incite those special groups. What the hell is this called? This is called a war of public opinion. But just think about this kind of thing. If you really want to do it, Chen Lian can't hope to go abroad. He can only stay in the country. Chen Lian went out all afternoon and didn't come back until the evening when the museum was about to close. After meeting up with the team, Chen Lian took them back to the hotel. When night fell, Chen Lian came out of the hotel again. When passing by the British Museum, he noticed that there were many more people patrolling tonight, and there were many hidden sentries. But these hidden whistles are really stupid. There are usually so many cars here, but tonight there are more than a dozen cars parked here. Who couldn't tell that something was wrong? Chen Lian couldn't help but curled his lips and ran in another direction with his backpack on his back. He had no intention of continuing to cause trouble in the British Museum tonight. London is such a big place, where is the place to paint? The streets are full of creative spaces for Chen Lian. After another busy night, Chen Lian dragged his tired body back to the hotel. Every time he came out, he had to avoid the hotel's surveillance. The UK was the first country to popularize surveillance. Although it was not everywhere on the streets, it was found in many important places. Monitored. Chen Lian really felt like he went out to steal things every night, and he had never been so cautious about having an affair. Although the public turmoil has not stopped, life still has to go on. Today is the 4th day of Chen Lian's exhibition, and he will soon leave London. Chen Lian felt that it was a pity. If the time had been longer and if he had more manpower, he could have made the matter bigger, but he didn't know whether he would be on Bond's hunting list. Chen Lian couldn't help laughing when he thought about this. The movie 007 has really brought too much popularity to the UK. He is a romantic, mysterious gentleman and a powerful agent. Wherever he goes, beauties will fall in love with him. He will not flinch from any enemy he encounters. The key is that he still saves the world. It seems that the world will be destroyed without British gentlemen agents. This is also a means of cultural export and ideological export. Chen Lian was sitting in the car in a daze. When the car arrived at the entrance of the museum, his eyes immediately lit up. He saw someone holding banners and signs in protest. Is it finally going to start? Chen Lian was so excited that he wanted to shake. A few graffiti could lead to so many things. This feeling was really hard to calm down. Most of the people protesting in front of the British Museum were international students and tourists visiting London. The movement was not very big, but it was just a spark. Just wait for the moment when it starts a prairie fire. I wonder if the British Museum will compromise due to public opinion. Although this kind of thing has happened later, it is not certain now, and Chen Lian is not sure. Now that the gears of fate have turned, Chen Lian doesn't plan to continue to go out to cause trouble, and just waits for the subsequent development. Chen Lian was not in the mood to go to the exhibition hall today, so he stood outside watching the show, watching the protesters shouting to return the cultural relics, but the police soon appeared. For these protesters, they were labeled as illegal assembly and started to drive them away. If the protests are allowed to continue, the British Museum will not be able to open its doors. Robbers. Thieves. Return our cultural relics. Robbers. Thieves. Return our cultural relics. The slogans were shouted loudly, and the protesters were very excited. Several young people in the team who came with Chen Lian also wanted to participate, but they were stopped by Chen Lian. Teacher Chen, let us go too and let the British Museum return our cultural relics, a young man said excitedly. Chen Lian patted him on the shoulder and said, don't get excited and don't forget our mission. If it were any other time, I would have let you go. But just looking at me like this makes me feel sorry for those cultural relics that were taken away. Then we should organize our own exhibition and let the whole world know that these are our culture. These cultural relics in the British Museum were stolen. Tell the whole world that these cultures belong to us. Okay, the young man clenched his fists, feeling powerless, but Chen Lian was right. We must run this tour well and let the world see that these cultures belong to us and others cannot take them away. The protest continued outside, with police shouting at them over and over to disperse, telling them it was illegal to protest here. However, it is obviously difficult to drive these people away. There are too many people watching the excitement, and physical conflicts will inevitably occur during conflicts. The only good thing is that these police officers have received orders not to use their guns. If someone was shot and killed, the matter would be completely unstoppable, and they wouldn't be so stupid. At this time, in the protesting crowd, when a policeman wanted to arrest a black man, he was pushed down by the young and strong man. This was like lighting a fuse, and the conflict quickly escalated. The reporters on the periphery became excited instantly, and some even broadcast the situation here live on the TV station. The police only dared to push and yell, but physical contact and conflicts were unavoidable. Chen Lian glanced at the black man and couldn't help but smile. Yesterday's £500 were not in vain. If he was not arrested tonight, he would give him the remaining balance. It's great to make trouble, London turns into Gotham. Chen Lian watched all this with a smile. Suddenly, Chen Lian saw that many domestic students were also protesting, and suddenly he was worried that they would be injured. Soon what Chen Lian was worried about happened. An excited Chinese international student bumped into a policeman and was quickly restrained by the police behind him. However, the international student's friend rushed over again, and the conflict broke out in an instant. Although Chinese people in the 1990s were influenced by Western culture and many people worshipped Western culture, it does not mean that everyone is like this. Everyone's blood is still there. Just like when the embassy was bombed in 1999, wasn't there a lot of excitement in the country? The young man's blood was not cold, but boiling. Chen Lian watched several young people fall to the ground after being hit by police batons. He couldn't bear it anymore and rushed over to block them. A policeman held a baton and was about to take action when he was caught by Chen Lian. The other police officers were just about to gather around when they heard Chen Lian say, "Stop, everyone. This is violent law enforcement. They are all young people. I will take them away. Don't do anything." FK, the policeman who was grabbed by Chen Lian yelled. He let go of the baton and was about to punch him. Unfortunately, as soon as he raised his hand, Chen Lian pushed him back hard. Chen Lian's horse steps were very steady and his hands were very strong, so the opponent couldn't move at all. "I don't want to conflict with you, let me take these children away, and you don't want to make things worse than they can be." Chen Lian looked at a police officer 2 steps away and shouted. The police officer knew Chen Lian and knew that his identity was unusual. There was a promotional poster of Chen Lian outside the museum. After hesitating for a moment, he said, "No problem, you can take them away, but you must ensure that they will not continue to participate." "Okay," Chen Lian agreed immediately, then let go of the policeman he was holding, turned to the international students and said, "You all calm down, come with me and don't continue to make trouble." "Teacher Chen. I'm not afraid." "Yes, we are not afraid." Seeing their excitement, Chen Lian felt a little scared. If these children were beaten and then arrested, they would suffer a lot. "Don't talk nonsense, come with me," Chen Lian shouted, and then told them to leave quickly. He stood there and stared at the more excited policeman, fearing that he would get in trouble again. But Chen Lian guessed it right. The policeman was so angry that he took out the electric shock baton and wanted to give Chen Lian a shock. "Pat, no," the older police officer shouted immediately. It's a pity that he shouted too late, and the electric baton was already stabbing Chen Lian. Chen Lian had been staring at the policeman and noticed it immediately. He quickly twisted his body to avoid the electric baton, then stepped forward and hit the policeman hard on the chest with his palm, knocking him out for more than 1 meter. Far. After Chen Lian beat the person, he didn't show off. He immediately raised his hands and shouted, "He attacked me first. I didn't do it. I'm going to find my lawyer to sue you. I'm going to tell the media that I have been discriminated against." Police brutality in London. This is a capitalist world, and Chen Lian is a wealthy and prestigious person, so he knows a lot about these things. Several policemen around. How did you prepare these lines while beating people? The next chapter will be later. Today I was hollowed out and depressed.